Hey guys, my name's Hamid Thompson,
And I'm Cody Robinson, and this is episode 3 of Keep It Going.
and we're here with George. I'm sure he doesn't need much of an introduction, but if you don't know him, he's got some info for you.
Tell us a little bit about yourself, George. Who are you? Where you come from? What you do?
Well, I'm one of you guys, so I'm a stunt crazy. I'm from Brooklyn, New York. I've basically been in the stunt industry now for 8 years. I'm actually taking a trip into writing with you guys, actually. Jahako all day.
Jahako Writing Group.
Writing team, you know what I'm saying? I'm actually excited that you're creating a podcast just to talk. It seems like having a dialogue is the hardest thing to do nowadays, so I commend you for that, basically I'm in Georgia now. I'm in the South. Like, I can't go back to the North. Everything especially is popping off up there now, or just in general in the world. I'm finding I guess you could just say my comfort now, just being in the South, being with the industry here as well, especially whenever it kicks back up. Teaching is actually pretty awesome. I'm becoming a teacher down here, especially for movement, like my own movement, acrobatic flow. It's like meditative, yoga-esque, movement. And just interjecting myself in the best places where I can, wherever there's wisdom, wherever there's a place for me to learn from coordinators, from other athletes, from the industry itself, and just in general from spirit.
Nice.
Appreciate you guys.
And for reference, George has been a master of body movement, and he's learned a lot through that. And I think it's interesting that he's talking about teaching because it's not very easy to teach. What are some of the things you've learned along your path, and how do you apply it?
I'm starting to learn that, we're performers. We get on camera, we act in a lot of weird ways, but I'm starting to realize that my true performance is teaching. I actually fall into like a flow state when I'm teaching people, and I learned that my intent is what actually gets me deep with people. I want them to be better simply by movement, not by necessarily idea, by thinking things or whatever, just simply by physically being better, accessing your movement potential. And when I sit with people and I try to show them that, I almost see them as a child. I almost see their child inside, even the one they're trying to hide from me. I'll tell you why I love teaching stunt people. We have to be perfectly bad, and we have to be badly perfect. Like, we have to be good at being bad, bad at being good. So when I teach stunt people, I have to break through their falling facade. We practice falling, so if they mess up, they try to fall in front of me perfectly. But we're not there for that. We're there to learn stuff, so I have to tell them, listen, it's okay to look dumb. It's okay to fall out of the air and land on your face or whatever the case may be, as long as you just keep doing it, And I guess you could say one of the best things I learned in movement, in doing it and teaching it, is that there's no true blueprint. Either all movement is dumb or no movement is dumb. We all walk, sit, stand, and we state a very basic, I guess you could say, ways of physical being. But the potential of movement is far beyond just walking, sitting down, laying down, and doing the basic things. So the moment I get people to touch the floor, the moment I get them to do rolls, anything that it breaks that norm, I get to see them as a child. I get to see what drags them further, into those places. Even their emotionality, their insecurities that stop them from moving. You know how many big people I've worked with that they're like, nah, I can't do anything. And I'm like, you crazy, touch the floor. The moment they touch the floor, the moment they do a roll, the moment they do anything that just shows them that they can, their face changes. Oh, snap, I just proved to myself something. And then that's just, it lights a fire. My brother lost 125 pounds just because he had fun doing a backflip.
Yep.
And that was literally just it. He was like, yo, I don't want to stop doing this. Then the weight just fell off. So movement is made for everybody. There's not a person in this world that tells me they don't have the potential to be more, do more by movement itself,
That was always kind of like,
helped me.
That was like the credo of parkour for years when I was in it. It was like, it didn't matter what your age or physical ability. It's just like, jump in.
Just
and
get up.
Yeah, get up,
and
touch
move.
the floor, roll around, figure out what you can do.
Exactly. Use your environment. There's something wrong in a sense where people think that being that child again is just off. Like,
Yeah.
I'm not supposed to climb on this, or I'm not supposed to do that, and who's telling people that? Like, who's telling people that we have to be competitive in movement? That's another thing. Competition forces people to look and be the same.
Right.
Even the highest of Olympians, they're all competing the same movement. So yeah, you're getting great, you're fantastic, but there's still potential for more movement, for more creation of movement. And when I dropped the idea of competition, it was almost like nobody could tell me that I was wrong. I could do a broken anything and find a reason to do it, and just tamper with it, do it off my wrists, do it off my toes, whatever I was doing, whether it was capoeira, parkour, or just challenging the idea of what people thought was wrong, making wrong another different kind of evolution in a sense, just playing around with it.
I think that's interesting because growing up, whether I was in school or home, I felt like I was always told not to do a lot of those things. Like at home, we were talking about earlier, I would want to jump on some different like outdoor objects that we had at my house or climb our deck or things like that. And my mom would just freak out at me. Sorry, Mom, if you're watching this. But
He said many good things about you.
It wasn't necessary. I love you. You're amazing. I learned a lot from you. But yeah, it was something she didn't really understand or do. So it seemed like a way I could get hurt.
Oh, yeah.
And,
Yeah.
I had wished she would have chose to maybe channel that a little bit or take the time to understand it.
Or place it. Put
because
it in something.
I eventually came into it anyway, right? Like
Mhm.
I did parkour in college, started cheerleading, now I'm doing stunts.
Mhm.
And if I had an earlier start, maybe I could have taken more time to understand what I was doing. And I probably could have benefited a lot. Like right now, I'm relearning my body because my alignment's off. And it's been very challenging. It's really tough. And most people don't even know their alignment's off. And even if it is, most people don't notice if, like, nobody told me that my alignment was messed up. Nobody. But I felt it and I knew it. But I also didn't take the time to understand it.
That's the thing about like what he's doing too. Is this large amount of what I would describe as very athletic, but also very flexible movement. It's not like the streamlined track and field style movement. It's very much like a very almost spider-esque, monkey-esque.
Yeah, it's like yoga that you're just flowing instead of just changing positions. You're flowing into the different positions. Your transitions are part of the movement. And what I try to tell people is that there's not just one way to do a cartwheel. Like, yeah, if I want to do a backflip, then I have to do a cartwheel to set me up for that backflip. But if that's not my objective, why can't I do a cartwheel with bent elbows? Why can't I do it sideways? Why can't I bend my back in an arch? Or why can't I just do it every other way? You know what I'm saying? There's no scorecard. There's no nothing. To be honest, if I only do things one way, my body will only understand that one thing. I want a full spectrum of physical understanding, not just tumbling. I want to see what I'm physically capable of, what movement I can bring out of myself,
Yeah,
And
it's one of those weird things where when you see like different sports like gymnastics and stuff where they basically are just going towards the same ideal.
Exactly.
Like everyone's trying to do the same exact thing.
And no matter how good you are, you're all still, it's like almost like they'll have a better day than the other guy because they land that same move a little bit better.
Yeah.
But in my mind, I'm like, how can you add rhythm to this?
Yeah.
How can you change it? Or what move can you make that you can name yourself?
What makes
What's
it you?
yours? Exactly.
Yeah.
So to me, when I first started stunts, I lived in Louisiana and I sat in just a living room. And, I used to power tumble, parkour, all that stuff. But, where are you going to go? How are you going to run and hit your wall in your living room? So I had to take everything I knew that I would do up here. And I had to find a way to put it on the ground and to keep it close so that I can just consistently train. We have to. And I was broke. I couldn't go to every gym. The gyms are far. So am I just not going to train? So, and then capoeira helped me to basically put everything in a circle. And I just had to find different transitions, but into already what I knew, which was acrobatics and taking handsprings and turning them into walkovers. And, just if you push a wheel down a hill, it's going to consistently roll it basically into itself.
Yeah.
And if the body's a wheel and you push it down a hill, in a sense, metaphorically, you're literally going to just move forever. You move constantly. I move into a flow.
But your body's more like a sphere. Because
Exactly.
you can go in every angle.
Every angle, every direction.
Depends on how you
That's
move it.
perfect.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You know, so wherever I aim my arm, I'm going. You know, wherever I kick my foot, I'm going. And whatever comes out of it, there's not something that's wrong. It's just potential of movement. I'm just moving.
So is there like a pill or a cream you take for your extremely deep voice? Because I'm very impressed.
It's part of my beard. It's part of my beard. The more I grow it, the deeper my voice
Let me
gets.
try. All right. How's
Yeah,
this?
guys.
Am I doing better?
That's mad sexy.
So yeah, we've all been dealing with this thing going on too. Like, you know, as we're going and talking about like staying in shape and moving around, what have you been doing right now during this coronavirus where we've all been kind of stuck?
Stuck, man.
We've been stuck.
Well, it's interesting. My lifestyle before coronavirus was kind of one of solitude as well. So what I would do on a regular was just train, you know, in my backyard or in the park around my house. I would read a lot, you know, and, you know, just talk and chill with the people, I guess you could say, that look for me or close to me. And during all of this, everything changed in a sense for the rest of the world. But in my home, I was doing the same thing. You know, I was like, oh, well, I guess I'm going to read again, you know, or
You're like, everybody, welcome to my world.
Exactly. I was like, now pick up a book, everybody. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Read some stuff or go train in your backyard or in your living
And
room.
stay
you
the
know.
hell off social media.
Oh my
Good
God.
Lord.
Leave the poison behind you. I call social media the ghetto of the internet. It's the hood of the internet. It's like internet poverty. It's weird, but that's kind of
That
how I
makes
see
sense.
it. Yeah, all of the weird opinions that you don't see people's faces, you don't see their intent for real, and it's like the WWE, you know, the jumbotron. Like you play a song when you turn on your Facebook, you walk out and everybody sees that you're The Rock, you know. But at least we knew that social media was fake. I mean, not social media. At least we knew wrestling was fake. A lot of people take social media as real.
The athletes weren't fake. They're amazing
Oh,
athletes.
they-
Wait, did you say
definitely
wrestling was
Story
fake?
up
What?
It's like that always that joke like, what?
He
Somebody's
did
just like,
that. He definitely did that. But yeah, the social media, especially when you're sitting at home and you're doing nothing but watching, in a sense, the news, and you're just bouncing off your head with everything that social media is providing. And I don't think right now it's giving the, I guess, the best of everything. I think actually turning it off might be better. Look at your family, you know, turn all that crap off and just,
Look at yourself.
there you go. That's a big one, you know, for sure.
Dude,
Look at what you're doing, what you're thinking.
when all this coronavirus stuff started happening, I was just like, okay. I was on social media for like 3 or 4 days just trying to keep up with the news and whatnot. And then it got so crazy that I literally didn't touch social media for like a week. I was like, nope, I'm going to think smaller. And I even posted online, I was like, everybody think smaller. Nobody, the world feels like it's falling apart, but just try to, you know, change what you can change and affect what you can affect. And so we put in that garden outside, and that's what we've really been pouring our heart into. But with everything else going on now, it's like everybody insists that you are on social media. Everybody
Yeah, they're
insists that you have
forcing
to
you
participate.
jump into.
Yeah,
you know,
everyone
that
says you have to
whole thing.
participate. It's like if you're not participating, something's wrong with you.
Hey, what are you doing if you're not about this division or that division or whatever? And to be honest with you, I'm just about one. I'm not about division. And so trying to keep up with everything that's dividing is actually painful to do when I don't believe in it. You know what I'm saying? And you know, my views of this world and of everything, it's not left or right. It's not, you know, politically based. It's not black or white. It's literally, in a sense, spiritually minded. And so to me, we're all in the same boat, you know, and we're all dealing, in a sense, with the same things. And how do we get along? How do our minds mesh as well as they do if we don't understand the same things? It has nothing to do with what we look like. It's literally what we put into ourselves. And I'm just learning that more and more. I haven't been on social media for 4 years. And the day I shut it off, it was weird, but I don't know if you remember, I was living with you at the time. I went to Puerto Rico right after. And, dude, I shut it off and dipped, and it was almost like I lifted a weight off my shoulders. And that weight on my shoulders was everybody else's opinions. You know, it was like, I don't have to see it. I don't have to care. You know, seriously, because one thing social media, especially Facebook, was doing to me was it was giving me the option of not caring about people. I was scrolling and scrolling. Oh, look at you. I don't care about what you're saying. Who cares about your sandwich, bro? You know, all of this stuff I just don't care about, but I'm actively not caring. Like, I'm actively ignoring. Someone's having a bad day. Why you complaining all the time, bro? Ignore. And to me, it was creating a bot. It was creating a drone. And also, I have a lazy eye. You know how many meet and greets we showed up to for film and people didn't know I had a lazy eye? But it was because all of my default pictures were perfect. Every default I put up, it had to be something I enjoyed, but what made me enjoy it, but what I thought other people would enjoy. So I started realizing, yo, I'm kind of fake. you know, and I show up and I'm fake. And, you know, not only that, but working in film, people stick to your Facebooks and they believe they know you because of it. You know, I would show up to meet and greets and people would be like, hey, bro, didn't you do this, that, and the third? And I'm like, this is the first time I'm seeing you. You know, that to me is just very awkward that you have an eye in my life without my permission. And I can't really do it. And then nowadays, the cancel culture that's going around, if you say one thing 10 years ago, it's over for your whole existence. So what do I miss?
Dude, you're seeing that with Rogan right now.
Oh, my God.
Like Rogan signed that huge deal with Spotify,
Mhm.
and the first thing cancel culture did was comb through every single video he's ever done, right? And they found one with him and like Joey Diaz from like 10 years ago when they first started the podcast, when there was like a 3-person, whoever was going to show up podcast, and Joey Diaz was doing
Kinda
his
like this
typical,
Kind of like this one.
Yeah, kind of like this one.
Basically, yeah.
But he was like they were just like doing this like thing, and you know, I don't know if you're familiar with Joey Diaz, but he always tells really gruff, really raunchy jokes.
I think he's Cuban from
Yeah.
the hood, yes.
And he's hilarious, but he always like over exaggerates his stories to make him seem like, you know, he's like
savage crazy.
Yeah, like this is crazy and stuff. He talks like this the entire time, you know. And but like, you know, he was joking around about kind of being a gatekeeper at the comedy club, and women were sleeping with him and stuff to get on stage. And he was openly talking about it, like, you know, it was kind of a deal that he was making, but people were using that to go after Rogan
for laughing
because
for
he
not
laughed,
calling him
just
on
because
it.
he laughed, just because Rogan is here with this guy that kind of helped him get in the industry, and this guy's over here openly bragging about it on live radio, so he's not thinking there's anything wrong with it. He's thinking this was a deal that went down between him and these girls, right?
Yeah.
But now everybody's like, oh, I don't know how I feel about that. So everybody takes everything in its small little bubble and they judge it by the standards of today.
Yeah, what about the thousands of videos he did that everybody enjoyed, you know?
Right.
Like, you know, it's just weird that nowadays, especially, you know, the way things are, you make one mistake, just one. And it's a mistake you could have made that no one knows about, that everybody just finds out about later. And you're cooked because of it. You know?
I actually think that Rogan's going to be immune to this.
Oh, yeah.
For the reason that he is a non-filtered individual.
Yeah,
like whatever he's thinking comes out, and he's done so much public
Yeah.
speaking that people know who he is and what he stands for. So you can have the cancel culture try to come after him, but because he hasn't really curated anything, he's just puts it out there, then you can't touch him.
Yeah, just be yourself. You know, one thing that I don't like, it's hard to handle about, I guess you could say, the opinionated life, you know, that everybody's leaving. You have to think this way, you have to think that way, is that when you try to silence people and the way that they actually think, you're not doing anything but making it worse. Let them say what they think. Go home and go to sleep and be okay. That's the thing. They're not breaking down your house with their opinions. You just have to see them for what they are, have a dialogue about them. Don't go, you hold this opinion and you're wrong because of that, and so you have to change to think the way I think. Present a reason to change. You know what I'm saying? So all you want to do is just cause a bubble. You want to cause something that's going to explode later. People can't speak. You know, so, you know, it's funny. I know that there are white people in this world that don't like brown people, but I actually like talking to them for the simple fact that I get to see why. You know, instead of saying, you suck because of this, that, and the third. They don't. They're just living. They have their lives. They have their upbringing, just like I have had mine. I'm from poverty. They're not. Obviously, we're going to be different. You know, obviously, your ancestors, your family, everything is going to be hardwired different. But the problem is that it can't be addressed in a dialogue. And what a lot of people want to do is shut you up. And that has never worked. It has never worked. It's never going to. People really need to sit and speak without the idea of having to rage and hate. It just, and so because of that, because of this, you know, wrong and right style of thinking, if you're not thinking like me, you're wrong. That is just causing a lot of the divide that we see everywhere.
You know what I think it is? I think a lot of people don't know truly what the hell they believe. People don't know what they believe.
Yeah.
So they're just looking at other people and going, hey, do you believe that?
Yeah.
Okay, I believe that too.
Yeah.
We all believe that. Everyone around here has to believe that from now on. And it's like a team thing to them. And it has nothing to do with what they actually believe or not. We see people all the time in media and news and social media change what they believe
constantly.
with the current, where the crowd
Whatever
is going.
suits the
the
narrative,
mob
yeah.
justice. That's why mob justice is so stupid. It's like, because it's just depending on where the numbers are. Like, oh, if enough people can coerce somebody else into believing something, we're all going to believe that now. It's like, I'm not doing that.
One thing I want a lot of people to understand, more than the biases of this world that we're all facing, is that the most important thing, especially to the people at the top, is money.
Yep.
It's always money, 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 money. More than your race and your nationality, the people at the top, they want money. So what they're going to do is everything possible to keep being who they are. And so what it has to be is just they have to keep the divide up. If everybody's seen everything for what they are, let's say the middle class woke up, they wouldn't exist. It's like magicians without magic power. You can ignore them very easily. When someone you know a magician's tricks, they disappear. They're not important no more. And that's exactly what we're all sitting under. It's like a guise of division. And it's in so many different forms and facets. It's between men and women. It's between gay and straight. It's between black and white. It's even between men and men, women and women, Democrat, Republican, Coke, Pepsi. You know what I'm saying? Xbox, PlayStation. There's division all over the goddamn place. It's only competition.
You can constantly just break people up into as many identity groups as you want to.
Exactly.
That's why when people say, "Well, what's your problem with identity politics?" Like we all have to like fight together against evil, and I'm like, what are you talking about? What's evil?
What's the
And
evil?
like what's the evil this time, right? It's usually like what do I want from the world, and who am I going to use as a scapegoat to say that I didn't get what I wanted from the world because of this group of people? So it's always it doesn't matter. We can break people up by hair type or eye color or lots of different things. I mean, they even do it with disabilities now. So it's like you can break people up in an endless amount of identity groups, but that's what they're trying
That's
to do.
basically what's
It
happening.
never stops. So the idea is that they always have to create a new group that's being oppressed so that they can have more reason to come in and help those oppressed people
it's
under
this
the guise of
victimization.
big government and all that kind of stuff. Like,
Yeah.
I'll fix it. I'll fix
and
it.
it's crazy because it's hard for me. Like, it's weird. I grew up in Brooklyn, and so poverty living, it's weird to see that people who almost don't live that same way, almost by the idea, are trying to pretend that they have. Like the cop thing.
Yeah.
People are like defund police, but if you're truly from the hood, you know that that's a little dangerous. Like, again, my family's, my sister, my brothers, they live in the projects, and sometimes it would be hard to even walk through these projects because a lot of crap would be going on. So sometimes a presence made it easier. So I'm not saying that police don't do terrible things or things that are terrible haven't happened, but it's almost like you're lumping the whole of everything into something that I've actually watched help people as well. And so to judge it by just that narrative, I'm not saying there aren't bad apples, but in every case, all over the map, on every side, there are. And we have to just understand that, root that out, and not just destroy a whole thing. There's so many hidden strings that are being pulled that we don't get to see. And that's the thing that also pisses me off, because a lot of these politicians, a lot of these these higher up people, they pretend to be part of us. If you're rich and you're so far removed by your wallet, by your fame, by your all these things, how do you understand what it actually means to be an average person? These people are multimillionaires too, just like Hollywood, who's trying to tell us how to be. No, y'all are far removed from people. Your sense of morale, I don't believe in it. You're far removed. You're one of the 1%, yet you're telling me how to be the not 1%. You know what I'm saying? It just doesn't make sense to me.
One thing I always kind of laugh at, and I know we're all in stunts and we all work in Hollywood and things like that, or the Hollywood of the South, we should say. But one thing that ticks me off beyond measure is when nobody gets a voice and becomes brave until they have enough money to do so.
Oh my God!
And
yeah.
it's all the Hollywood celebrities getting up there and singing a song together, thinking they're changing the world, and they're showing their consideration and their hearts. But really, a lot of that comes from guilt. A lot of that comes from like, oh, I'm lucky to be where I'm at, because a lot of actors are lucky to be where they're at, because there's 1,000 other talented actors out there that are good at what they do. They just didn't have the right look.
Some of them we know.
And so someone have
people.
that idea, but that doesn't apply to the rest of society. Like your guy that's working, that's over there, like, building houses for a living. He didn't get there out of chance.
Yeah,
he got there
exactly.
because he was consistent and he was trustworthy and all this other kind of stuff, and he was good at what he did. And that goes for most jobs, but entertainment is one of those weird things where you can get there in stunts by just being good at what you do, but you still got to have the right look. And in acting, it's all about the right look.
And a lot of people don't understand that a lot of these major actors, they're handpicked. They're very chosen, and you got to wonder, what are they chosen to do? There's a lot of things I see as agenda in Hollywood that I just don't agree with. A lot of the movies that they're remaking to just say an activist kind of point, where that's not why we go to watch movies. We want to be entertained. We know this of all because we're the ones falling down the stairs all the goddamn time and being set on fire. You know what I'm saying? So I don't want to watch an opinionated movie. I just want to see some art. You know what I'm saying?
My thing is, if you're going to tell me, if you're going to give me a message, I should get the message without you telling me.
Yeah, without you having to
That's art.
put it
That's
into
art.
mission. And,
Subliminal
Yeah,
messaging.
you should implant it in my head in a certain way that makes me it feels natural. If I feel like you're just like throwing it in there, it's like you didn't put any thought, effort, or art into it. You're just trying to tell me what to think.
Yeah, tell
and
me
I,
what
and,
to
that,
think.
and I hate.
And
that.
it makes me
Hate it.
question, when they do that, it makes me question, who are you? What are you doing that is making you a saint? Actually, by that stature, by the top of this pyramid that you climbed, I don't see you as such. I see you as a Pied Piper. It's weird, again, the way I view these things, it's just a little different. I see things as hypnotization, manipulation. And it's very apparent in the hierarchy of our society, media, and all that.
I don't know if it's always a manipulation. Like, I'm expressing this because of what recently happened to me. I felt like amongst a few people I was close with, I was kind of trying to guide and help them become better because I can see something that's wrong that needs to be improved. And I don't know how it happened because normally I didn't do that. But I think it was a combination of stress and doing a lot of things I didn't know and not being the leader that I normally am and like basically taking a back seat and like really trying to do a lot. It was just a lot of changes in my life. And when I noticed these things, I wanted to address them, and I would kind of have the conversation with them regarding my thoughts rather than just doing it in my own head and deciding how to actually guide. Because I would give like 10 things, for example, like this will help you, this, and this, but no one's going to remember all that. They need one thing, and they don't even need to know exactly why I'm saying it. Like, you just need to know that there's something that's affecting. I'll give you an example. I'll give you an example. With my girlfriend, sorry, Shelby, I love you, you're great. But we were reading something together, and really, she was reading really fast and kind of stumbling a little bit over words. And all I needed to say was, slow down a little bit. I'm missing what you're saying, right? But there was a lot more to that because if she slowed down, she'd be smoother and then she could read it faster eventually, right? And also it's easier for everyone else to listen and you'll be able to articulate better. And there's a number of things that can get better through that. But I start going into all the detail rather than just saying, slow down, let's continue, right? And that did not make her happy, right?
No,
it was annoying. It's like, I'm a know-it-all. And that's like, I made that realization and I've taken a step back. But my point is, there could be those people creating some movies out there that their intentions are pure and they're like, I want to help guide these people, but they just don't know how to make the
You mean
art.
like guide the general public, guide society?
Right, but
the thing is,
they're far and few between.
I think they're on a smaller scale in terms of their own resources. When you look at the huge Hollywood movies and you look at the huge Hollywood, the people that have all the money, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
this is what I'm talking about. Versus, there's a ton of little people. Dude, we know stunt people that I'm pretty sure if we had just a little bit more resources, we would be able to do, again, our own things, our own stories, our own everything. What I'm just saying is we're in a very, I guess you could just say, pivotal time where, all of these, I guess you could say, the thoughts that everybody's having is swirling, all over the place. And I feel like there's certain things that are stoking that ignorance and that swirl. It's really pushing it toward a big fight, and it's funny. I look at the media, and what I learned about media, alternative media and media, is that one is facing this way. I'll give you an example. If me and you go through the same thing, say we're walking down the street and something happens and we both witness it, and we both tell our accounts of what we're witnessing, it'll sound similar. Now, both of our stories won't be perfect verbatim, but the stories that we tell will be along the same lines, right? What is happening in alternative media and media or news and whatever is that a story is going this way and then the other story is going completely opposite.
Right.
That means somebody's lying. That means that if something were near truth, then the stories would match.
Yep.
And another thing I noticed about media is that Trump, whether you hate him or love him, it's statistically impossible that every story of Trump is bad. It's literally statistically impossible. That is biased media.
Yeah.
I don't like him. He's not my homie. I don't chill with him or anything like that. I didn't even care about the idea of Trump until they threw him in my face. You know what I'm saying? So It doesn't matter, though, what is happening in truth. Why is one story going this way and one story going completely opposite? That, to me, is not natural. Somebody's lying.
That's how they lost a lot of people. A lot of like publications have lost my trust.
Yeah, exactly.
Like I said, Trump isn't my guy either. Like, but I see BS from a mile away.
Exactly.
When somebody's telling me like straight up something that's not true, and I see that, I go, I don't care if I like that person or not. Like,
This isn't
if
true.
you lied to me about that, we're done. I'm
only
not
that,
trusting you.
Not only
That-
that, but what are y'all hiding?
Right.
Well, yeah.
What's your agenda? If you're trying to make this guy look so bad, I get it. You don't think he's fit to be president.
But why
But there's a
you ma-
lot of people they thought weren't fit to be president whenever they were in there.
Yep.
But there was a specific. I actually have some friends that are Trump supporters, and what they say, they believe that Trump was actually there to get rid of the status quo. That Trump was there to actually be a populist and not be a person that's controlled by the parties.
Yeah.
They thought of him as a third party kind of candidate, just using the Republican name. But you say what you want. Has he gotten swampy or not? Right. But that's what they thought he was. They thought he was a break from that party line.
He exists because of what everybody did already.
Yeah.
A lot of these politicians that are battling him, they've been in politics for how long? So the country going in the direction that it's going in, is it Trump's fault? Or is it the politicians before him? You know what I'm saying? So him popping into the mix, I'm supposed to hate him because they tell me to hate him, but why does he exist? He exists because y'all have been acting up.
He's a symptom.
Exactly. He's a symptom. He always talks about China. You know how many Democrats have literally, they're in cahoots with China, Ukraine. They don't
So
want
many.
their bank. They don't want anything to be let out. This is why they're going so ham at him.
What's insane to me is like, once again, I have to keep stating this because I know a lot of people that are on the left right now are turning us off. But like I said, I'm not voting for the guy.
Me either.
Didn't vote for the guy. But you have to admit how crazy it is that anytime that he is going towards some type of objective, the media is immediately
opposite.
smashing the cancel button and immediately going the opposite direction, immediately finding every single like tiny little hyperbolic lie that he had in there, adding it to his lie chart, all this, everything. Like, he's not a good person, but like the fact that he's not towing what the media wants,
It's making me
this
actually
is
look
what's
at them.
causing the chaos. It's like they're like, if somebody is not playing ball with you, what do? You cause so much chaos that everybody else gets fed up with
Exactly.
You know?
And it blows my mind simply because, again, like I said, they've been there forever. In my head, we haven't had a real president since JFK. He was the one who went after the true problem, which was the Federal Reserve. It was the IRS.
And
it
they
was
killed him for it.
Exactly. They murked him. Same thing with Martin Luther King, Malcolm X. All the
Yep.
people who were about something real, they have a blueprint to get them from a distance. And I don't just mean a bullet. I mean they're upcoming. Let's talk about Tupac and Biggie. You know what I'm saying? We still don't know who murked them. But the route that they were going would have eventually have been a revolutionary. They cannot have that.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So when you truly think about the real, you truly think about who's chosen versus actually picked by people, it's literally all of these 1% people choosing their puppet and keeping the knowledge a certain way. That's on point.
Phone's off, Cody.
Exactly.
Somebody's at my front door.
But yeah, so to me, if nobody's talking about stopping these taxes the way that they are, if nobody's talking about the Federal Reserve, if nobody's talking about literally those real things, I don't believe any of them. I actually think they could possibly be working for the same team.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people don't believe that, but to me, I'll bring up a point. I don't believe that these Democrats that are going up against him are as crazy and dumb as they're coming off.
Oh yeah, no, for sure.
And you know,
None of them are.
to me, if you fail impeachment, if you fail collusion, if every jab you've thrown at him, you lost. Why are you're following the same creed, and it's just making you look worse and worse. And then on top of that, you put Biden forward.
There's a reason. He's just a carcass.
And exactly, he's literally on strings. You know what I'm saying? And exactly,
Wheel him in. Wheel him in.
Yeah, exactly. So to me, everything that y'all are standing for falls apart when you put Biden in the seat. It just doesn't make sense. The patriarchy that there's
The Democrats had a chance to put Bernie in there, and they actively twice cheated him out of the electoral process. It's
and it's
crazy.
because the 1%ers need the people that they could control in there. So no matter what they're saying to you, what is going to happen? Just look at the direction the country's been going, just even since slightly before we've been born. It's been pushing in a direction forever. And to me, in my head, Civil War started America, and I think it's going to end it. Like literally, I think it is, because if you take one point, again, they're going this way and they're going this way. So if one point keeps going this way and the other one keeps going this way, there's never going to be a middle ground to connect on and understanding. So eventually someone's going to throw a punch. Look at the riots and all this stuff going down now. No one even knows what's happening because everybody's infiltrated.
I was actually saying this to Justice. Shout out Justice Leak behind the camera over there.
Ooh,
working
Justice.
sound, working all the technical stuff, and eventually we're going to get where he can get
Appreciate
himself
you.
piped in. He's basically our producer right now. So
Right.
I was telling him years ago, and you can tell me what I said was true. It's like, and I didn't know if now I truly believe it now with the full context that I have. But back then I was saying we're on our way to a race war.
Yeah.
We're on our way to a civil war.
Mhm.
Like, and he was like, I don't know if that's true or not. But as the years go by, he's like, maybe. And then I start looking at it and I'm like, still maybe, but I see this glimmer of hope, man, because for years it was like they had a stranglehold on media, right? They had a box that they put in every single household in the country.
The black
and then
mirror.
every single night people would sit down and they'd all take in the same information. And then cable came along, and then there was a lot of media to control, so they couldn't really control all of it, but they tried. They really tried. There's like the same company. Yeah, the laws changed. So but I'm just not just talking about news, but like television shows and stuff too, where they controlled the narrative that people got. Man, and then when the internet came and high-speed internet, it was like they tried, man. They really tried hard to keep everybody on the same page, but so many pockets just started bubbling, and you can't control it all, right?
Yeah.
So what do they start doing? They really start trying to create divides and making people fight against each other. So they're not thinking about Big Brother anymore. They're not thinking about the people that are back there pulling the marionette strings.
You're not seeing the real. You're just seeing the people you have different opinions of, and that's the thing. I believe that the 1%, those types of people, they can't murk us themselves. They can't kill us themselves, but we can.
Yeah.
We can fight each other. You know what I'm saying? We can do their dirty work. And to be honest, the glimmer of hope you say you have, to me, this is what that glimmer of hope is.
Yeah.
A dialogue. And it has to be, not that it has to be unemotional, because everybody's emotional, but it has to be with the idea that I'm not going to lose my mind while we're talking simply to prove a point that might not even be a good point. It's to listen. It's not just listening, it's a full-on conversation. And because like I hear this liberal talking point, not from you, because I know it's not the way you used it, but it did trigger me a certain way, because I had somebody on Facebook today whenever I said the only way we're going to get out of this is if we all like search our own hearts and like find our own darkness and address that and actually talk to the people around us and let that chemical reaction take with our
place
truths.
between personalities, between truths, between conversation, right? And I always hear the same people that are kind of like what I call like neoliberals, people that take that left party line, hook, line, and sinker, and just repeat the rhetoric constantly. And they always say the same thing. No, now is not the time for a conversation. That time has passed. Now it's time for you to sit down and listen.
Oh no!
Clap back from the back. Yes, girl. Clap back.
No. I don't mean it like that.
I know you didn't. I know you, but that's what it reminded me of. That's where it sent me off on a tailspin, because I'm like, for a person in 2020 telling me it's now time for you to sit down and listen. I'm like, dude, we got to live in this world together. Like, because they have an entire, and people are going to hate me for saying this, not an entire, but they have a large swath of a certain race completely pigeonholed right now, and saying if you don't care about Black lives, or if this and that, then you just need to sit. You don't care about Black lives if you don't sit back and listen.
Yeah.
It's like I've been listening, man. I worked in the projects for
years.
You're a
cop.
It's like I worked there for years. I went to a primarily black college, all this other kind of stuff. Like I was there. I was in it. It's like I'm not saying I grew up in it, but I experienced it enough to kind of understand a little bit, to where I understand that it's not going to be there's no problem that's going to be solved by having the people that are actually, like I always tell, it's obviously black people are not a monolith, right? Everybody here is an example of that. But it's like the idea is people always try to act like we have to judge and plan for the black race by only taking a small percentage of the 1% of the population that's committing crime and causing a lot of different types of issues and things like that. We now have to take that portion of the population and use that as a way to change policy that's going to affect all black people. And you're like, well, no. Because the more I talk to like just everyday black and white people, doesn't matter like where you come from, just everyday people that are just trying to make it in their life, they all say the same thing. I want to have this conversation. Nobody says, no, you need to shut up and listen to me.
Exactly, yeah.
No God-fearing human being is going to talk that way. Like everyone wants to, because we all have to live together.
God-fearing. That's another thing,
Yeah.
by the way, because one thing I do understand is that if you don't believe in anything, you almost fall for everything. You know what I'm saying? There's a huge push in this world to not even be able to talk about God, and that blows me away. It really does, because it's almost like if that idea never existed. I'm pretty sure our great grandparents will whoop our ass for just not even talking about spirit or thinking about it. Like, you know, to me, what would heal, I think, this nation is a spiritual understanding, empathy.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's not that hard. I'm not saying go be a Bible thumper. I'm not saying go to churches. I'm saying search the self so that you understand other people, because we are the same. Again, by spirit, there is nobody actually truly different. We're all literally, to me, the same in the eyes of the Creator, the same. So me and you, our instincts make us the same as me and you. So where are we really different aside from the little things that we like? In terms of me, I like cream in my coffee. I don't like pickles on my burger. You probably have your own little things, but when you get hungry, what do? You eat. Exactly. That makes us the same. That makes me the same as insects out there. When they get hungry, they eat. When they get horny, they bone. When they, you know, all of it. It's instinctual living, and that's what spirituality is nature. Once you understand by the most basic set of instinctual being, you know every single person. Everything else is clutter. I don't have to care about what you like on your burger. I know when you're hungry, you eat.
Insects don't bone; they have exoskeletons.
However they do it, they love it. However they do it, they love it.
No,
and
but
it
it's
happens.
interesting what you say is because, like, Friedrich Nietzsche said this, and I don't know if I've said this on the show before, but he said, God is dead and we have killed him.
Yes.
And, you know, what we do now, the murderers, all murderers. How will we wipe away all the blood from our knives? There's not enough water existing in this world to wash away all the blood, right? He's explaining, like, what we replace this with. Like, what are we going to do now that we've all decided, because based on this scientific understanding, that we don't believe, and I'm not talking about me. I do believe in a higher power. But what I'm saying is, like, as a society, on average, people are really tearing away the cornerstone of civilization itself and being itself, because we lack a true ideal, a common ideal, right? And that's what God is, right? Like, you know, it was Carl Jung that said God is the abstract manifestation of your highest ideals, right? So that's just like a psychological or like a social way of explaining what God is. But like how the idea of God manifests in our daily lives. But what's crazy to me is we still continue to act out the basic shapes of religion, even without the idea of a higher power.
You know what's crazy? A lot of people, I wonder if they think about what belief actually means. Like, what does belief mean? This might not make sense, but to me, belief is either a 1 or a 0. If you want to go math in terms of the Creator, in terms of God.
Binary.
Exactly. 1 or 0. Computer language, 1 or 0. Literally, what is created and what isn't? 1 or 0. Yes or no is a 1 or a 0. Do you have love for me? If you say maybe or I guess, that's a 0.5.
Yeah.
That is not giving me an answer. At least if it was no, I know. If it's yes, I know. I move forward. You see what I'm saying? Belief is as simple as a yes or a no. But when you squander it with all this confusion, you need all these other things to help you with that yes or no. But to me, a human is belief. You cannot stop me from understanding that. When I'm standing on a floor and I'm about to run and do a tumbling pass and double backflip or whatever the hell, I don't move until I know I'm going to land, until I believe that move is done. I won't leave the corner of the floor until I know I'm going to land that move, until I believe it is done. So anything I do, when I look at people and I tell them just the ways that I am, what I think about them, it likens to either a 1 or a 0. I have to be either, to me, the Creator sees people as a 1. It is 1, so we're little baby 1s, you know what I'm saying? But you have a choice to also be a 0.
You're speaking New Testament theology right now. You really are. Jesus was famous for saying that if you're hot or cold, I will keep you.
Yes.
But if you're lukewarm, I'll spit you out of my mouth.
Exactly. And you want to know why? We drink coffee and we like it hot or cold. When it's room temperature, we like.
Right.
Get another
but he's
cup.
making a point. It's a thing about your psyche too. It's like do or do not.
Yeah.
It's
And
the same idea that Yoda said, right? Do or do not.
It's a perfect example, because if not, you're left in like a perpetual salsa, just walking forward and walking backward. And
Just
Puerto Ricans are great at it.
Like Nike, do it.
Yeah, exactly.
Do
So
something.
You have to choose, and that choice is either literally 1 or 0. And that's what belief is. Do you believe in the Creator? 1 or 0. It's either yes or a no. If there's a maybe or I guess, you're leaving yourself in the land of confusion.
It has echoes throughout your entire life.
Exactly. You have to go out there and get the rest
Yeah.
of it, you know what I'm saying, to make your 0 a 1, you know. And to me, truth is always a 1, whether it's positive or negative. You know, what is happening in this world? What is the truth of everything in this world? And when you do ponder God, to me, it's as simple as, what is manifestation? Who gave me the ability of thinking, therefore I am?
So, okay, I have a question.
Go for it.
Because on this topic, I am a 0. So, a few things. So, first thing is, as a 0, I feel like my moral compass is fairly solid, and I'm willing to listen to people, and I'm willing to have a conversation. I want to understand other people. Is there a way for the 0? So I guess what you're saying is, if you're a maybe, it's hard for somebody to.
I'm saying finish that question.
Yeah. Okay. Fine.
If it's a maybe, finish why isn't it a yes?
Yeah. Right.
But because again,
guess-
why isn't it a yes or why isn't
so
it a no?
Specifically talking about the higher power,
Mm-hmm.
for me it's a 0 because where I'm at right now,
Mm-hmm.
I can't. I feel as though I can't find an answer, and it's also something that doesn't interest me.
You want to know something crazy? The answer is, when you look at this world, and when you look at the people ruling this world, you see the devil. After you meet the devil, you know there's a God. Manipulation of man. Who wants that?
It's the same thing they said in the. I can't remember what part of the Bible it was, but it's like the absence of light is darkness, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the idea is the basic fundamental of everything in the beginning of like the Bible and a lot of other different traditions is like the beginning was darkness, right? The beginning was like this void, this endless chaotic void, and then what came from that, and this is. You can mirror this into psychological terms. You know, if you don't want to think of it spiritually, you can think of it psychologically. It's helpful for me both ways. But what you would just essentially say is like, but adding order to that chaos is adding light, right? You're shining a light. You're a shining understanding. You're a shining order. So, and eventually, what you understand is through all that is that like love is the end. You know, paramount of that mountain, right? That love is kind of like the manifestation of all that. And seeking to understand, because when you love someone, you're seeking to understand them, and you're not putting contingencies on if you're going to love them. You're constantly looking for that little glimmer of that silver lining of that cloud, saying, "There's something good in you. I can see that." That's love. That's what love is. You want the best for the best in a person, so you constantly seek for that. You constantly look for it.
And you brought up your moral compass as well. Now, a compass is taking you somewhere, no? It's pointing you in a direction, right?
Right.
So if your moral compass is pointing you in the direction of being a good man, what is that? What is at the end result of that direction?
So where it is for me is I feel as though I care about other people, and I want them to have the best life that they can. I want them to
That's
be happy.
fantastic.
And
I feel as if you do too.
right.
That's
I've known it for a
fantastic.
long time.
Outside of that, I never really had the desire to even get into any of the religion, because there's a lot to learn.
Right.
There's so many different texts.
It's not necessarily religion. There's this weird
You're right,
confusion.
you're right. Sorry.
This is crazy. I'm gonna tell you straight up.
Yeah.
I don't believe in atheists. I don't believe in people who don't believe in God, because it's hard for me not to watch you move. You know what I'm saying? Your body is not just a thing that's doing this. You know what I'm saying? You're moving it. You know, you have free will. I move my finger because I think I'm moving my finger. You know what I'm saying? It's so much deeper what free will is. You know what I'm saying? At the end results of all these things. And what happens with people in religion is they see that religion doesn't work. And they see that the people who run it, like, I'm not going to lie, I already told you about the Catholic Church. What I seen in the Catholic Church, what they were doing. I used to want to be a priest. When I watched and seen what this church was doing, I literally thought to myself, how can I want to be them?
Yeah.
And it took away my idea of spirit, because I was a kid. It broke, in a sense, my heart. But what happened is I became what I would say an atheist is. Just someone who thought that I was in control of everything. And that's what it is. The do as thou wilt. I'm in control. When, to be honest with you, after I get just hungry enough, I can't think straight. So how in control am I? You know what I'm saying? Literally, we're actually slaves. You can be a great one, or you can be an off one. We're slaves to either the devil or the creator. It's either the 1 or the 0. So to me, where people cap religion, you see religion doesn't work. This doesn't work. These people, the way they're moving it, it doesn't work. But then you stop there. You just go, okay, that doesn't work, so I don't have to search for what does.
Well, so I guess I misspoke a little bit. It's more, I haven't taken the time to feel or decide what I think is out there, because in my mind or in my logical mind, I don't feel like I'll get that answer.
Right.
So it's not something I have a desire to explore.
People really like, and this has kind of been the thing ever since, what was his Christopher Hitchens, and all these other guys, these famous atheists. They always try to separate this idea of a scientific understanding of the materialistic world, and they try to separate that from a spiritualistic understanding of what God is, right? So they say I can both not believe in God as a higher power, this woo-woo force that exists up in the sky, but I can also still believe in a moral system and a moral compass and like what's good and what's right and what's wrong. They separate those things. But if you're more of like from a Jungian side, which I know me and George agree on this, we've talked about before, we're both Jungians in the sense we agree that what you act out in the world is what you believe.
Your actions.
That gives me chills just thinking about it. But what you act out in the world is what you believe. Whether you want to do it or not, you claim you want to do it or you don't. But what you do in the world is what you believe. And
your actions.
Yeah, and sometimes those things don't line up. And that's the definition of hell. That's like when you create this false sense of reality around you, and it just creates this disgust reflex all around you, and you hate you for you, or maybe whenever you want to be a priest when you grow up, and you see everything that goes on in there, and it just like pulls you away, and it just kills religion for you.
It literally makes you angry.
Now take that and mirror that, or I should say, take that concept that I said and place that on a system of ideology or government. So that's what we're seeing right now. We're seeing people that are acting out these basic shapes of religion. Right now, you have your inquisitors, you have your priest caste, you have all these different, messenger groups, you have your missionaries, you have all these different people that are parts of this religious caste, right? But because we're humans and we're innately religious creatures, because we see things for what they mean and not what they truly are, right? Everything's not like the basic shapes like Aristotle said. It's essentially when you see a cup, or when I see this beer, I don't think of, oh, that's just exactly what it's like. It's a piece of glass made from silicone and sand, and then they made. I don't think all of that. I just think what it tastes like, what it does, what I associate it with, the emotional appeal, all this stuff that makes beer its beer. So it's like, what does it mean? And that's what we do with everything. So whenever you place this onto this religious understanding of how our brain works, and then you place it onto a society, and everybody's still acting out these religious structures within ideologies and governmental structures and governmental beliefs, Democrat, Republican, Marxist, capitalist.
They treat it like these weird religions now.
And the second you get fed up with one, what's the first thing you do? Denounce it. You're like, I'm an anarchist. I don't believe in any of this. This and that. I quit all of it. You become nihilistic. And that's what Nietzsche said would happen.
I wanna also say you gotta look for the things that don't change in terms of spirit. That's what a foundation means. So like, I'll give you an example. And so you said I learned a lot from movement. One of the things I learned from movement was that I'm really good at manifestation. Like, I'm good at manifestation itself. I mean, the first word in it is man. Think about that. But so in movement, I was sitting there and I was wondering how I was so easily bringing my thoughts out. Anything I saw, I could do. To me, manifestation wasn't something I created. It was something I was using. The ability of it. I think, therefore I am. I bring forth my mind. You do the same thing. He does the same thing. Even a tree out there goes, I'm hungry. The sunlight. You know what I'm saying? You think
it does like that too. It does exactly.
Literally, if you speed it up, you know what I'm saying? But so think about that. Where is that law coming from? Fruition. Where is it coming from?
Kurzgesagt, which is a YouTube channel, would say that all is based on seeking food. That we as humans and our creatures in general, all creatures seek nourishment. And that's what you're saying.
Yeah, well, even in terms of love of being a food and nourishment, and to me, the ability that we all hold, though, it comes from the beginning. It comes from a creator. That's just one ability. And it doesn't change no matter what you want to do about it. You can't go, I created creation. I created manifestation. No, you didn't. None of us did. We're all using it. I have another question. A woman who's loving her child now versus a woman loving her child 1,000,000 years from now, what would they be doing that's different?
1,000,000 years from now?
Yeah. I use that number on purpose because the art of love would still be the same. They might give them different toys or
Well,
objects.
I mean, I don't know. We've got Neuralink now. We're going to be
In a million years, we
spliced
could be
with
just
the
like go out
internet.
and
I
stand
mean,
in the sun and just be like, ah.
What I just mean is love as an action, we're borrowing. Nobody
Yeah.
is creating it. Nobody's making it up. We're literally borrowing the ideas that we live by.
It's something that's so deep inside of our bones. man.
Literally, and we're not creating it. We're using it. We're conduits to these very ideas. To me, the creator's a baby. It's a baby because it's something we have to protect by being that way. I have to protect the baby. It's a golden egg that can evolve in anything, anywhere.
It's the concept of the sacred.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And if I walk that path, then I protect that baby
So-
because I make it last.
Okay, so let's say you.
I love it.
For some reason, I interpreted that as I am the baby.
No.
Only because
you're the
wait,
man.
hear me out. Hear me
Yeah.
out. Only because growing up, my dad always said to treat others the way I want to be treated, and the way you're talking about this creator, I was interpreting it as okay. Because of what my dad said, I'm trying to protect, I guess, me in
Mhm,
that regard because I want others to treat me in a
The way
specific
you want
way,
to be seen,
right?
yes.
And I never really thought about it that much, but you know, I
But
want
that's
people
why.
to care.
That's what I want you to know. That's why you have to think. That's why I say go and get it.
Right.
You have to go and do.
Well, that's also part of my yoga journey,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah, I know. That's why I'm happy.
I'm going through this yoga teacher
I'm, like, falling
certification
to the
right
depths.
now, and there's a lot of good information, and you know, I'm just at the base level,
Mhm.
and I want to embrace it. I
Mhm.
will embrace it. I'm open to all ideas, but again, it just wasn't something that I cared to put effort in or energy into. I've always been interested in science and technology.
Well, trust me, me too. Until that
you know.
failed, like I got too smart, I got too emotional for my intellect. My feeling wasn't helping me live happily,
Right.
no matter how good I was.
Send you in spirals.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It was actually being a detriment, so I needed foundation. I had to place it somewhere. As a person, I broke. But that was almost the best thing that could have happened because it gave me deeper perspective. Everybody thinks what God is supposed to be is just something only beautiful. At the deepest of all spectrums, it's also disgusting. You'll watch a mother bear with love for her cubs use that same love to kill whatever's threatening them. You know what I'm saying? So love, God, the creator, it takes all forms, facets, shapes, everything. It's so much grander than we pay attention to, and we scrape the surface every time we try to think about it just a little bit.
Yeah.
It's a path you walk. And what I mean by treat everybody, treat people the way you want to be treated. When I say treat the creator like a baby, I'm not saying go.
Right.
I'm saying be the ideas. That's how you protect it. You make it last. That's what protection is of those very things. And it's funny, but even though this world is not trying to move in a spiritual way, those are the very things that this world needs. It actually needs the ideas of empathy.
Well, that's something like in all of the spiritual practices that I've participated in or read about or talked to people about, there's this understanding that they all have
Mhm.
that I don't think you can get without walking
Mhm.
a similar path. And it comes with training your body and your mind and your
Everything.
everything.
Full
Yeah.
circle. Yeah.
Full circle. And I'm not there. I know I'm not there, but I want to work on it. I
Yeah,
want to
on you.
understand.
That's
you. I
the
wanna
difference, though,
understand it.
between you and the majority of a lot of other people. You want to understand it. That's only going to lead you into doing the things necessary to get a deeper understanding. The majority of people I talk to, I try to, they don't even want to have the conversation. And I think it's because they're scared they're not good enough people. Like, if I bring up the ideas of righteousness, they're like, I'm not being righteous, therefore I don't want to think about this. And in my mind, I'm like, that's terrible. Because then if that's the case, you're just never going to think about it. You're never going to do
Yeah,
it.
it's the uncomfort, or no one wants to be uncomfortable.
So everybody will understand this if you have kids, right? Because I have 2 kids, right, 7 and 9. And just for using for an example, the other day, like my son, he has a laptop from school that he's not allowed to, be on. He's 9, so he's not allowed to be on it unless he has permission, right? And he has to ask me, and I keep it in my closet, and then I go get it for him, and then he can use it. That keeps him off screen time, things like that when he doesn't need it. However, the other night he snuck it, and he went to grab it, and he took it up to his room, and I found it the next day. And the best way that I could explain it to him was like, listen, it's not that you shouldn't do wrong things, or you shouldn't. It's not that you should just think of morality like, oh, I do these things so I don't get caught and what people think about me. It's like every time you do something, that goes against what you know to be wrong, you forfeit a section of your psyche. You forfeit a section of, as religion would call it, your soul. And every time you become a little more okay with deceiving people around you, and I've learned this the hard way myself. Every time you become, I'm not talking this in a righteous way, I'm talking about this in a hard, lessoned, learned
real
way.
life, yeah.
Every time that you sacrifice your ideal, every time you sacrifice your best image of yourself for short-term pleasure or short-term gain, it becomes easier and easier to do that. And then before long, you wake up and you're in absolute hell. You wake up, you just like, how did I get here?
You're trapped in
You
it now.
created it for
Yeah,
yourself. You put
vacuum.
yourself there. And that's what religion is trying to do. Not all religion, but that's what a lot of spiritual practices are trying to tell people, is that like you manifest your own destiny, and by practicing doing what you know to be right and abstaining from what you know to be wrong, you develop mental fortitude.
You literally develop mentally.
Yeah,
really do.
you are literally training your brain, and psychology is getting to that now, where they're talking about, like Sam Harris talks a lot about like how to train your brain and things like that. He's staunchly atheist, he says, and whatnot, but like he's still coming at it from the same direction. That's why him and Jordan Peterson had so many great talks where they're talking about the same thing, but Jordan Peterson comes from a much more spiritualist mindset, and even though he's not a spiritualist, he considers himself an agnostic. But you know, he tries to tell Sam Harris, "You're not an atheist." He's like, the way you're acting is like you're acting out God. You're like manifesting spirituality. You just don't call it that.
And that's exactly what I say to people. It's hard for me to look at someone painting a picture and say they're not a creator.
Right.
They're creating literally on the spot, and you're not giving credence to creation. You're using the variability of why you're here. And you're just not giving up, in a sense, respect to the ability. Whether it's movement, whether it's painting, whatever you do to bring your mind forward, it's an art, and it's not an art created by us. It's an art we use, and there's so many different versions of that at the deepest, again, of your instincts. You know, again, I understand everything because I look to understand those instincts, you know. Everything, dude, at the furthest spectrum of every way to be, you know, in righteousness, that's the creator.
So you said something that's interesting. You said you're basically taking the time to think about all of these little aspects, all these things that you notice and analyze, right? Basically, that takes a lot of effort and time, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
but it's my dedication.
Yeah.
To
That-
spirit.
I feel like I can't help it.
Yeah, I'm done. Yeah, exactly.
can't
I'm
help
caught
it.
up.
Yeah.
I'm done. I'm like God. It
That's
has
that
me.
difference between, like, you know, they actually identified years ago, probably about 15 years ago, what they call the God gene, and it makes certain people more religious than others. It doesn't mean they ascribe to a certain religion. They just have a tendency for religious thinking, and that's the majority of
The
people.
yearn,
But we
the-
have a percentage of our population. You may be one of them that just doesn't have that you know, propensity to think religiously, in the sense everything's more logical, everything's more rational.
I'm definitely one of those.
Right. Doesn't
And
mean
then
that
that's
relig-
also fine.
Yeah, and it doesn't mean religious thinkers can't be rational. It just
Yeah.
means that they ascribe meaning to things differently. And I think that might be part of the paradox of where we're at in our world right now.
That's why I say I look for the questions that people, it's almost like they can't answer them. You know, they have to think and think and think. And I had to ask myself these questions to break me out of atheism. One of those questions was, what is a man? What is freedom? I had to ask myself questions like that, where I had to fall into rabbit holes to actually find the answers to those questions. And those answers made me seek a certain path.
It's interesting because I like having those conversations with other people. I don't have those conversations with myself too often, and I don't know why. I have like I listen to my gut instincts a lot and my intuition, but I don't take the time to actually have a lot of those conversations. I know my brother did. It's funny, growing up, he'd always pace and just talk out loud, so he'd have those conversations. And I was always like,
cool.
what's he doing? It was great.
So he did it for you.
You guys will love
Yeah,
it.
he's like,
But well, yeah. So he did it separately, but he would also do it with me, and it was great. I really enjoyed that. That's why I also like listening to you guys talk. But you know, I need to start practicing that.
Honestly, brother, it'll make you the lion that you are.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And you know, like I said, I look for the things that are true, the things that I can't change, no matter how hard I want to. You know what I'm saying? Because then, if I believe in it, that's foundation. It's like hard bricks versus whatever.
It's like
Yeah,
they
yeah.
just like we talk about going back to current events. It's like everybody wants to tell you what they don't believe. Like, this is what I'm against. This is what I'm against. I don't want to know what you're against. It's obvious what we're all freaking against. What are you for? No, like not like what do you say you're for? What are you for?
What are your actions?
Like what are you doing? It doesn't mean that you got to take some stupid action just because you want to be part of a movement or something like that. That's not what you're for. What are you doing individually? So when people like, I was getting people like hammering me on the internet for like, just, not choosing not to participate in the text conversations other than like, hey, I think you're missing something here and let's talk. Everybody's like, well, why can't you just tell them on the internet? It's fruitless. It's fruitless.
You're just going to end up in a vacuum.
I can't explain to people what I'm for in a one, like a couple
you
sentence
need an
paragraph.
actual conversation.
But we have a conversation, you will understand what I'm for.
It'll
You'll
take
get it.
several 3-hour podcasts to understand. But
all of them.
it's
You should go back and watch them.
Yeah.
All of them. But I'm liking how we're getting into this one. It's more about being in existence and not just religion, but like why we are how we are, and like what our
absolutely.
propensity towards evil and good is. And it's like, and when I was saying something about good and evil earlier, it's like you think of no one can tell you right off the bat, like just off the top of their head, what's good, other than maybe love, right? But even the way we talk about love in this world, that can be misleading, right? There's a lot of people that I think that are acting out of love that are causing a lot of harm. Like an Oedipal mother style love, right? But everybody can tell you, like, there's a few things that we can all agree on that are evil, right? And
Epstein.
that kind of stuff, like murder, rape, all that kind of stuff. We can agree on that. And then we work back from there. Why do we believe that's evil?
That's the question I want everybody to ask is literally why. I literally just said Epstein's name in terms of an evil idea. He fell out of the media the moment Corona started, you know what I'm saying? And but in terms of evil, what could actually help this world is if people knew a lot of the truths of this world. A lot of our opinions will fall apart because they wouldn't matter, because we'd actually see a lot of the things that are happening. Just look at Epstein as an example. What was he known for? What was he doing? You know what I'm saying? Birds of a feather flock together, and all these billionaires, they're not hanging out with me, with homeless people on the corners, chilling. No, they're with each other. And he fell out of the media. His black book fell out of the media too. The questions didn't go into who is he in cahoots with? What is he doing further? Who else was implemented? It's dead in the water now. And now people have to fight to bring the case back. They have to bring women to talk. And that man and what he was for, if people knew him, if they knew what he was connected to, they would see the world a lot deeper.
Have you seen that Netflix documentary on him?
That Netflix documentary pisses me off for the simple fact that there's so much more to be spoken about.
For sure.
Epstein is not the topic anymore. The ring he was a part of is the topic. But they don't want to talk about that ring because, again, who's in control of those rings? It wasn't just him. There's birds of a feather flock together,
right.
You know what I'm saying? So, that being the case, they're using him as a scapegoat because he's quote-unquote dead already. They're using him as the topic so that everybody else doesn't get figured out.
You think he's dead?
No.
You don't think he's dead?
I don't think he's dead. Well, if he's dead, I don't think it was a suicide.
Oh, definitely.
But to be honest with you...
Either he didn't kill himself or he's not dead.
Yeah, exactly. To be honest with you, bro, the fact that everyone in the world knew that the news was lying about that whole thing, but those are the stories that got pushed forward, should make people question life.
There ain't no way that perfect storm of problems
mistakes happened.
Like,
exactly.
there was no video, nobody checked him on at the time. He was put in there with somebody that was like an brew ex. They thought that guy would kill him. Yeah, like every single thing that could have went wrong. And as a person that worked in the criminal justice system, not in New York, and I'm saying that I've heard that's a pretty terrible jail. But first of all, why would you put him in that jail when he's such a high-profile person? And why would you have him in any other? There's lots of questions that don't just need answering, but like it's obvious what's happening here.
And then
obvious.
In the news,
anybody else would have lost every job they had at this point.
The most paid people, to give news, they're giving you the opposite. And to me, why? Are y'all doing the same thing? Are y'all implemented? Are your higher ups implemented? To me, when he was in jail, he wasn't important no more because he could talk now. One only reason I think he's out, maybe, and don't think I'm crazy, but is because let me just say, if I were him, don't you think he'd have a failsafe?
Oh, for sure.
He was a black male artist in terms of what he was dealing in.
Thought he was a white male.
White male artist.
Yeah, no, for real. That everything revolved around what he had on somebody.
So you don't think that if he truly was killed, all of that stuff would have hit the stream somehow? These people are like black op type people. They have Secret Service in their back pockets. So you don't think he could have had a device on him that when his heart stopped beating, some stuff could have hit the waves? I don't think he's murdered. I just think his knowledge was too much. They either had to get rid of him or get him out of there. He got rid of all his money a few days before he was killed.
Yep.
He sent it to his lawyers.
He got rid of his money. We'll see.
Yeah.
Something.
Yeah, exactly.
happened to
His
money.
money was moved a few days before he was murked. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Killed. And so to me, why is the conversation not what he was connected to? He brought up evil, and I brought up him as an idea that if all white people, all black people, brown people, gay, lesbian, all of the division signs, if they learned what he was connected to and what him and the higher-ups were doing, none of that would matter. Everybody will go, you know what? I don't care that y'all, you look this way and whatever.
This is great evil we all
that
need to combine
needs
against.
to stop.
Yeah.
And it's because it's our children.
Yeah, and it also comes out when you get to that level of fame and wealth, you've had the ability to entertain every single, what's the word, vice that you could ever
Vice.
possibly want to. At that point, the only thing that it seems that would get him excited was the idea of these young girls. Something that's so taboo.
Exactly.
Something that money typically can't just buy, but you have to have a ton of money and influence to make it happen.
To me, billionaires don't want money.
They have to admit it, yeah.
They want power. And what is the only thing to have power over that means anything here but people?
Other people.
They have all the money.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? So they're not going to parties like we do and just do that and chill. No. They have rooms. They're mansion parties. They have rooms for different topics. You know what I'm saying? Different things of their vices. You know what I'm saying? They're not chilling and doing the things that we do. And for us to think they are is just backward thought.
Ultimate power corrupts, and power corrupts ultimately.
Exactly.
Is that what it was? Yeah.
And another thing we have to see is that look at ancient civilizations that rise and fell. They follow the same things that we are.
French kings and stuff.
Like literally, the money being fiat. You know what I'm saying? Even in terms of the minds of men being confusion. I call the devil the Khan of fusion. It's confusion.
Mm-hmm.
If the creator's fusion, the devil is the Khan of fusion. It's the virus to knowledge, the virus to knowing. If you call the creator the all-knowing, then what is the devil but the cell you drop in that'll taint it? You know what I'm saying? And if we're all memory cells of the creator, the devil has dropped himself into that brain, and he's moving around, but through the people, through their principality.
Dude, every single religion describes evil the same way, right? So, like when you look into ancient Christian Jewish legend or myth, or you believe it's true, whatnot. But like the idea is that the way evil entered the world was the tree of knowledge of good and evil. People deciding what's good and wrong for themselves, but being a little snake in your ear. It just tells you that,
a
like,
little serpent.
A snake represents something like slithering in and telling you what you should do, and just changes it. It just changes creation just a little bit, and that's how it gets tainted. Then you look in Japanese folklore and mythology, where it's about like everybody ever seen Princess Mononoke, right? So Princess Mononoke has like a really good portrayal of what like the Japanese believe about like demons, right? So what they believe is like this pure creation, like these forest spirits and all these other like creation spirits can get something wrong with them, and it's almost like a virus, and it just like starts to spread and bubble up, and they show this physical manifestation of this thing that gets turned into this like this monster, but it slowly happens, and then whenever they get enraged or anything like, and then it gets worse, and that's like such a way of talking about reality, right? And that's when a little bit of evil creeps in there, and it like during really bad times or bad emotional events, boom, it explodes.
They do it really good in Avatar: The Legend of Korra as well.
Yeah.
If you haven't seen that,
dude, animes be murdering it when it comes to a spiritual realm.
Yeah.
They be killing it when
the Japanese have been hurting for a long time. They've been hurting for a long time in terms of finding that meaning and purpose, and I think anime is their new religious structure, right?
It's there, yeah.
And we're searching for the same thing here in the West, right? And a lot of people are taking up anime, but I don't think a lot of people in the West have the spiritual maturity to understand the concepts that are being told. It's like Jesus says, like pearls before swine.
Oh my
if
God.
you're trying to be taught a concept and you have no clue, I know people that'll watch like Naruto and then have no clue what it's truly about.
Yeah, when they talk about the friendship, the family, the righteousness, people is like
forgiveness.
What? Yeah, literally. Yo, you know
That's
how
what it's-
powerful forgiveness is. I would love to tell you a whole story, but I don't want to take like OD time. But I learned to forgive starting with my family, and I couldn't stop the snowball from rolling over into everything in life. Because I was looking at this dude, and I'm like, well, this happened because of this. And then you, oh, well, your life is this or that. And, you know, once you start understanding why people started, you know, have done the things they do, or have hurt you or whatever the case may be, you can't stop yourself from falling into the next people. Oh, well, then you're part of the system too here, that, you know, everybody's moving the same way. Like, forgiveness is literally so that you could think straight. Forgiveness is so that you're not angry. You know what I'm saying? And that's something I had to teach my mom. My mom was a savage Puerto Rican woman, again, from Brooklyn, dude. She could spit fire. You know what I'm saying? But when she learned that her past was something not to hold on to, but to forgive, this woman changed immediately. And it was because she wasn't thinking through the pain of the things that kept her there. Now she was understanding that she can place it over here because of life itself, because of Brooklyn itself, because of this world, you know. And forgiveness is one of those huge spiritual keys, you know, that I talk about. Once you do, you can't stop yourself from growing. Bro, I'll sit in a dark room and I'll think of what wisdom means. Understanding. Literally just those two things for a day. And I'll sit in that room and just think of what it means and how to get more. But what I learned is that pondering wisdom, pondering understanding, they're like pondering infinite lines. If I run all the way over here, eventually, forever, I'm going to come up behind me. That's a circle. You're literally pondering an infinite. Wisdom, understanding, it's something that is always going to constantly come up in a different color, a different way to explain it. You know what I'm saying? And this is why I say, creator, go that route. Simply because there's more. No matter what I do, no matter what I learn, I'm going to learn that there's more to learn.
Would you say that wisdom and understanding, like you say, it goes in a circle? It's almost like that's what creation is too. It's
Yeah.
like it's a circle. It's always coming back on itself.
Cycling.
And it's so therefore it's not really about coming to an end point of understanding or wisdom. It's like it's about the practice and the journey of doing so.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's like you don't get there without love, right?
No,
Like,
absolutely, yeah.
Love is the practice of
It's the
trying to
fuel.
understand.
It's
and
the fuel of those things.
that's what people really. Oh, I think I cut out a little bit. There we go. People need to really understand that today. It's like everybody picks a side and just says like, we believe this, and this is our sacred cow. We're dying on this hill. This, and that. And everybody else is bad people. And they're like, and we're loving people because we love these people. We love black people. We love gays. We love love trans
Exactly,
people.
but
We
you
love this
stay
and
over
that.
there. I don't
But the
wanna-
white male is evil, and you're like, that's not love at all. You're
It's
just
bias.
you're just picking a team, and you're not seeking to understand the other side at all. You have made the other side your opponent, and
It's
you're
us
now
versus
That's
them.
what I
That's
keep
the
trying to tell that to
mentality
people.
they're
Like,
having.
guys, you're not trying to love anything. You're picking who you love because they're easier for you to love.
Because they agree with you. And
Yeah,
that's the
because
that's
you're
not
acting
real.
like their mother. You're acting like I'm gonna love this like my child. Like I'm gonna love this person.
I want to see people love the people that they think they hate.
Right.
I love when I have a conversation with someone that is not like me. It gives me an opportunity to be like, whoa, you are you. Let me see the space in between and why there's space in between. What are the differences that make us these things? I'm not going to try and change you because this is how you derived yourself.
Dude, this thing they're putting in everyone's head right now. It's like this is not like it's overt. It really is overt. I shouldn't say it's like it's subliminal. It's not. They are doing this to the entire like anybody that's not a white male these days. They're trying to do that to everyone. They're trying to make everyone have this constant mindset of you never can assume good pure motives from anyone around you.
Yeah.
That everyone constantly is oppressing you, everyone constantly is after you, and when you have that mindset, you never can have a mindset of love and gratitude ever.
Well, you never take accountability for your own problems, your own mistakes. And, you know, I was talking to you in the car on the way up here, and I told him that even us as brown men, like, who has stood in our way from doing stunts? Who has stopped me from being an acrobat, a mover? You know what I'm saying? I'm not going to say that my circumstances in life weren't a little harder because I was born in Brooklyn and, you know, all that stuff. I do understand poverty being something that does make it harder. But who stopped me from learning what I needed to learn? Who stopped me from going and standing in front of the people? And I've stood in front of people I know didn't like me because of what I look like. They still didn't stop me. You see what I'm saying? You can always do just what you see fit. But the mentalities that are given to us, it's like they're literally giving it to us. You feel this way, but then at the end of the day, it doesn't change anything for you. The victim mentality at all is not going to change anything from you. I never seen someone complain their way out of the hood, ever.
Me either, and I worked there.
You see what I'm saying? I seen people sell drugs and get out of the hood. They still got out the hood. I never seen someone complain and get out the hood. You see what I'm saying? So get up. It's crazy because my brother, just like me, we had to have this conversation too. His father wasn't around, but I said, instead of just blaming yourself for your pops not being around, let's move forward. Put your good foot forward. Let's do the things necessary so that you don't feel like a victim. You don't
Everybody,
feel these
everybody
ways.
likes to talk about this thing as so societal, and I agree there are major components to this problem in terms of socioeconomic, family, all these other types of things that are going on in society, which we talked about in the last podcast. But I really think this problem that we have right now is we have provided an excuse structure, and we have provided an entire worldview to a group of people that it's the very last thing they needed.
You want to know one of the problems I see too? And a lot of people probably won't agree with me on this, but it's fatherlessness.
For sure.
In the hood.
86% in the black community
Exactly.
right now.
In
Used to be
poverty-stricken.
25% in the 1950s.
And dude, I'm Puerto Rican. You know what I'm saying? In our communities, we're right next to them. Where are our fathers? My father, by the time I was 5, he was mentally, he had an aneurysm, squandered. Why? Alcoholism. Dude is doing drugs and drinking since he was 14. You know what I'm saying? My younger brother's father, where was his pops? He dipped out. Now, again, I get it. This is life. But we have to stop believing that we can raise children without them. We have to stop thinking that men are trash and they're just misogynistic and that's it, animals. Because to be honest with you, the major problems of this world, the victimization of this world, is everyone acting in an effeminate manner. When I know that the thing I would tell my kid when he tried to cry and be that way is man up.
Yep. I do it already.
I know. I can see it in your son.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? And so the crazy thing is, my pops, he couldn't do that for me because his mind stopped where he was. You know what I'm saying? Never his fault. You know what I'm saying? Life. He had an aneurysm. You know, but when you're in my mom's case, all she did was battle life, anxiety, worry, bills, money. I'm alone with 4 kids. You know, where is that actual masculine way of life that tells you to work hard? You know, it tells you to fix those very problems. Fatherlessness is, to me, one of the biggest problems of here.
People don't think, yeah, it's absolutely true. Like, to repeat that statistic, in the 1950s, the black community had a 25% single mother rate. So, like, 75% and up were dual parent
homes.
households. And by the time of the late 1980s and 1990s, it was at 86%. And that's a combination of lifestyle choices, but it's also a combination of the drug war and things like that
Everything.
that happened.
Yeah, Jim Crow,
that
a
was,
lot of
that was
different
that was a,
things.
a large part of it. Like, so when you take an entire society and you take the men out of it,
Completely.
and you're only learning this like, and I'm not stating that the female mindset is a negative thing.
It's
but
not.
It has to coexist with
Exactly.
a masculine mindset.
It's
These are-
always been in history.
Yeah, they're
that they
supposed to
work
be counter-
together.
yeah.
Exactly. Always. And now it's almost like I understand. Like, my mom was a single woman raising 4 kids. I have 1,000% respect for that. But I will never want that for a woman. I would never want a woman to raise 4 children by herself, and that be something to be proud of, because it doesn't provide for the children the best way for their mentality.
I know white women right now in our community that are like happy that that's what they wanted to do, was be a single mom.
I know.
And I'm like, okay, I understand that you feel like you have something to prove, and I good on you for trying to be a good person and trying to be a strong individual, but give your kid
The chance.
best
Yeah, give them-
possibility of upbringing they can have. Have a strong male in their life. It doesn't have to necessarily be the father, but have a strong, influential male
Yes.
figure in
Yo.
their life that can counteract the feminine mentality. They need both.
That's what I'm saying.
That's
Even me and my brother in life, me tumbling with him, me taking him with me, was me counteracting strictly only my mom's mentality.
Yeah.
I gave him something to do. I didn't even know that that's what I was doing. I just needed him to be with me. Yo, let's get dope together. Let's make
Yeah.
you, help you lose weight, blah, blah, blah. But now that I think about it, in hindsight, I gave him that gang. We all need that gang. Young men can't get that gang from women. It's not possible. And it's funny because it's not that I'm saying women are trying to raise effeminate men. It's that men look at their moms. And if they only have their mom to look at, then that's only what they're going to learn
Right.
from.
Right.
Is no matter what they say or she says, it's what they're learning, it's what they see. And then when they look out into their communities and they see the same thing everywhere. This is literally the problem of our society, the confusion of what we're supposed to do, how we're supposed to be. It's fatherlessness. It leads to so many other types of confusion in this place.
This is our big problem.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Hamid.
No, I was just going to say that since we're on the topic of children being raised, there's a lot of other things that I think outside of the fatherlessness that's important to address. Like, I think that a lot of parents have a tendency nowadays to shelter their kids too
Too much.
from reality.
Bulldozer parents.
And
11th place trophy givers.
right.
I can't stand
And I
that
think
crap.
that's also creating these weird mentalities, even in a two-parent household. That, man, I don't even
It's
know how to
creating
deal with people like that. I
exactly
don't know how to
the-
have a conversation.
The insecurity riddled victim mentality living.
Well, we know, by psychological studies and whatnot, that women are way more inclined from girls are very inclined from a very early age to be more inclined towards fairness, right? I already know this in my own anecdotal experience by having a son and a daughter. I taught them both the same. Now I'm a little nicer to my daughter just because she's really cute, so it's difficult, and I have a soft spot in my heart, right? But like, here's the thing,
And she's fair.
I have never taught her that things should be fair. I have never taught her that. I've never taught my son or my daughter that things should be fair. I taught them, you do your best, and you will, whatever outcome happens, if you did your best, you can't complain. Plain and simple.
Yeah,
and so
absolutely.
if you did your best, then you'll have the best chance to do that. But if you sit there and complain and worry about fairness, then I will guarantee you it will almost
gonna get left
it will
behind.
never be fair,
Yeah.
and you're going to waste all your time and energy in fairness. But I noticed, and this is not gigging on my daughter, because I'm sure by the time she gets older, I've taught her correctly. But she already now constantly is like, well, Jason does this, and that, and I didn't do it. It's all about fairness all the time. It's psychologically embedded in the feminine mind. This fairness mentality. And what we've also found that in colleges for the last 30 years, it's disproportionately female and disproportionately leftist. And we know that leftists have, by psychological studies, have that more fairness mentality. So it's more associated with the feminine. The liberal mentality.
Yeah,
is more
they're trying to
associated with
do
the feminine.
away with gender. All
Right, all that
crap.
kind of stuff. So they're basically trying to get rid of that duality because of a small part of the population that exists that finds themselves in the middle. Well, we can both acknowledge that there's people in the middle without doing away with the duality, right? Because that duality has to exist to a degree because that's how most people's psyches work. Now, they disagree because they would say that we can train anybody to have any type of psyche. And I would disagree because, like I said, my daughter is already so different by 7 years old, and she's been like that since she was 4. Very concerned with fairness, even though I keep telling her life isn't fair. It's just not fair, and I'm not going to make it fair for you. I want you to try harder when you think things aren't fair.
Yeah, word.
Plain and simple.
If I had a kid, I would be so honest with him. I'll stand him at the front door before he goes off to his day, and I'd be like, listen, the only people that love you is in this house. And I'm being honest with you because I can't expect people walking down the street to have my intent for my kid.
Are you assuming we'll be living together at that
A
time?
little bit, yeah.
You have adopted a boy together.
I would love to.
I
as my own.
that.
Just put him inside a Gatorade bottle, shake it up, and see what happens with it.
Nah, but that ass, man. I think that one of the biggest problems in this world, is spiritlessness and, fatherlessness. And to me, they go one and the same.
Yeah.
Like literally, I encourage everyone to do more research, not just outward, but inward. You know what I'm saying? Look for the foundation that, like I said, that the things that won't change based on your own feeling. Look for the things that are real. Look for truth. Look for the happenings of this place, of this world, not just the bubble you want to live in and, everything is so pretty in here, but, the monsters are out there. No, go look at this world. Look at the very politicians that you guys think are like religious leaders. Look at everything. Just look at the way the world is going. Look at the direction that it's going. No matter what we think, it's going in that direction. So just ask why. Question why. Go back in history. Crack open a Bible. Every time I tell people to do that, they look at me like, how dare you tell me to do that? I'm like, it's a Bible. You act like putting the book in your hands is going to burn you. I'm not a Christian. But that's a history lesson.
Psychology lesson.
That too. It's
5,000 years of psychology before it
existed. I was just about to
existed.
say that's the road of the mind. I am what that book is talking about. And you cannot tell me that you're not and you're not.
Man, it blows my mind when people like sit there and they crap on the Bible and they tell me like, the Catholic Church and this and that and religion, all the negative things they've done. I'm like, first of all, religion doesn't have a corner on evil. Like, actually, I would say that the Catholic Church or the church in general has done a tremendous amount of good, and you can't say they haven't promoted free thought because the scientific revolution came out of religion, right? That religious thinking structure is what sparked rationalism, and on top of that, people like to talk about like there's this reason I don't like the Bible, but they haven't even read it, and you're like
exactly.
But they also won't crack open the Tao Te Ching, or they won't crack open a book
Just
on
the
Zen Buddhism.
Nag Hammadis, yeah,
Everybody just has this like it's. Everybody knows that teenagers. I've said it in the other podcast, but everybody knows that teenagers is mad at their parents, right? And they just won't listen to anything their parents have to say, and they're going to take anything else that's not their parents, hook, line, and sinker, because it wasn't their parents who said it, because they have an emotional problem with admitting that they are an imperfect human being, and their parents are what are like a magnifying glass on that, because every time that your parents look at you, you feel judged, right? Nobody likes that, so nobody wants to feel judged from something up high, right? But even if you look at the Bible in like the most just like pragmatic, just literal, I'd say like a psychological way, you realize that a lot of the stories in there, people are like, oh, what about the guy that was this and that, and it's like this evil that happened in the Bible. It was supposed to be God's book. It's like, it's explaining what not to do.
It's explaining
it's showing you what happened when somebody did an evil thing.
And how to fight for your spirit.
And how dare you take that out of context just because you had an emotional problem.
Yeah, just because you had a problem, you're willing to destroy.
Like, dude, learn the lesson from everything that you see. Like, and why are you throwing out 5,000 years of psychological research?
Exactly. That thing has standed the test of time. Why do we train certain martial arts? Taekwondo, why do we train certain things, like, Wing Chun, Jeet Kune Do? Just, they have standed the test of time. They are perfect in their creation, enough for us to see its value.
Yeah.
To then go and give to it. It's the same thing in terms of spiritual perfection. To me, it is time. It has standed all tests. So it deserves my respect. You know what I'm saying? I'm using the ideals to actually live by and help people with.
The reason you study these things is so you don't have to think about them when the moment arises. So it's like,
so I know what to do.
It's like whenever you study a martial art, you practice the same procedures over and over again, and you actually everybody knows that when you practice a martial art, well, everybody that's practiced martial art, if you've never practiced one before, when you practice a martial art, things become second nature, right? Yeah. Like, you practice the same movements over and over again, and before long you'll do the movement without even thinking about it. I
just threw a shadow punch.
So hopefully when an emotional, crazy event happens in your life, that you're about to get in a fight or somebody's trying to rob you or something like that goes down, you just switch it on and it just happens. Muscle memory, right? It's even deeper than muscle memory. It's deep inside your psyche, right? So the same thing happens with religion. You're constantly running yourself through certain scenarios, ethical scenarios and psychological scenarios of how do you control your brain, how do you control your emotions, how do you control your actions, right? So you're playing with that beforehand by reading what other people have done and what other people think about that. So when the moment arises, you have a deeper reference. You have reference and a deeper understanding of why you want to do what you want to do and should you.
And there's more, man. They're puzzle pieces. Don't just read one. Put them all together. Right. You know what I'm saying? I'll tell you something I loved about Jung, his Red Book. You read that one?
Yeah.
Dude, tell me that wasn't his biblical experience. It was literally him slow walking what the mind goes through and writing it. And it sounded eerily just like biblical ideology, biblical thought, all of that. And he was just sitting there going through what he was going through. And what he wrote, he was like, I can't stop what I'm going through, so I'm just going to put it down. I'm going to, basically log it. And what ended up happening was, and it's funny because I've said the same thing to myself, I love my understanding. That's the only thing I love about myself, is the ability that I have to understand. And I've learned something that broke my understanding. It was better. And what he said in the back of his Red Book was, my own understanding destroyed my life, but replaced it with something far greater. And I was like, whoa, because I understood that. And when after I read that book, this dude was talking to ghosts that were telling him, give me blood. He was talking about King Solomon. He was talking about so many biblical things.
Well, they were symbols.
Exactly, and that's what exactly. The symbology of what the Bible was, he went through. And to me, it just painted such a picture also of the Bible. The symbology of the road of the mind. He fell into an abyss. And a lot of people tried to say he just went crazy.
Well, he said that a little consciousness was hell, but the only way to cure that was more consciousness.
Literally, dude. And
when you're going through hell, keep going. That's what he said, yeah.
Literally get through the fire. And literally, to me, what he was doing was he just broke the walls. He peeled the veil back of his own mind. He had nothing stopping him from falling into insanity. In fact, how can we logically ponder the Creator? How can we logically ponder God when we're little people standing in a universe like this?
The old Indian proverb. You know, like you touch the part of the elephant. If you have a bunch of blind men touching an elephant,
They'll all
they're
say
all going to
something-
describe God as the elephant as something different.
Yeah.
But it's only with all their understanding combined that you
It'll
figure
make
out what the elephant actually looks like.
So to me, if the
That's
brain is broken down into nothing but memory cells that we are, can I truly, in my utmost, understand it without chaos? Can I understand it without the crazy aspects of it, the insanity? So I'm gonna walk around and be a businessman, and I'm all about society and my 401k, but when I think about God, I have to think about it that way? Or can I think about it through the insanity that it is? Because it's not logical thought, it's actually the depth of it all. Jung was falling into the abyss. I'm falling into the abyss. I'm just reaching for people as I'm falling back. Fall with me. You know what I'm saying? And it's because the understanding at the end of it all, it's glory. It's beautiful. It's just we don't get to see it right in front of us. That doesn't mean that it's not possible.
This is why I think that if people that are watching right now have never read any Carl Jung, 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 C.G. Jung, and but everyone wants to take Marxism as the hook, line, and sinker way of, like, I say that saying a lot, but they want to take us like the end all be all of what we're supposed to seek towards egalitarianism. That these materialistic systems will fix everything that's wrong with our society, right? But that's not the problem. I mean, in my opinion, and I know a lot of people that agree with me here, and a lot of big thinkers agree with me here, like, Jordan Peterson and people like that. They all say that's that's not the problem. The problem is here.
It's the way people move it.
The problem is us,
Let
and
me ask you a
we need to
question.
fix us,
Let me
not
ask you a question.
this.
Check this out. If the Creator came to Earth, you think he would only rule America?
No.
Right. Yeah.
There is a righteous way to do everything. It just depends on the intent of the people. A Hitler didn't have a righteous intent. You know what I'm saying? But if a creator did come here, if there were a righteous intent in world control, what would that intent be but every man being free? That's how the creator would rule.
I would say that Hitler's a great example of the opposite of that, because he didn't have a righteous intent, but he had a very clear objective, a material
It's power versus
objective.
force. Yeah.
And that's what Marxism is based on. People, he's not a Marxist; he was a fascist, right? But he was a nationalist fascist. But people will say, like, that's it. But the competing ideology at the time was another governmental structure called Marxism, communism, where it's like essentially, what is the goal? And all the ends, all the means that you do is justified by the end goal, right? So all types of evil and atrocities are justified based on, you want to create this utopia. You want to create this
world,
perfect world that's idealized by one person, but it's not a universally preferable outcome. It's a singularly preferable outcome.
Based on your group.
And the same thing happens when you have people that are going on this in the race problems in this country right now. You have people what I would describe as good people that want to have these conversations and fix our own darkness and fix the interpersonal communications and relationships between other people. So, like, go out and make you some friends that you can talk to, or talk to your friends right now that are different, that look different than you and had a different experience than you, and fix that. If we can fix that,
Start on that
that's
level.
where you start. But everybody wants to say, oh, well, we want to have this giant goal, but these
idea.
goals always have, they don't equalize. They just put power in somebody
And
else's
it's
hand,
like
and then the
using-
power corrupts person. People.
I think they use a lot of people like to use social media because they feel as though they have a greater reach too, right? Like, a lot of people are going to see what they have to say, but it's not going to be interpreted properly. You're not getting the full conversation, and you're not really making a difference.
And also, how real is it?
Yeah.
Right. See, that's another thing. When we take that, and I know we're getting a little less metaphysical here. It's probably a good thing. But we everybody knows that you say things to people on social media that you wouldn't say to their face.
Yeah,
Right?
you get punched in
Because
your face.
you can just post and drop, and then in 5 minutes you're like, oh, that person didn't like what I said there. Because here's the thing: if I got to look you in the face and say something, then here's
gonna
another
tailor
thing.
it.
This is the difference between guys and girls, right? With guys, there's always the underlying threat of violence.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Girls do not understand this. I've tried to explain
it,
this
yeah.
to women constantly. I've even explained it to my own wife, and she's like, "What are you talking about?" I'm like,
Doesn't have to be
I'm
that
like,
way.
oh, imagine that you and a girl are having like, say you and a friend or an acquaintance are having an argument, and you disagree on something. What's going to happen if you two, like, really start offending each other and really start kind of being dismissive of each other and treating each other like crap? What's going to happen? Well, I'm never going to talk to that girl again. And what else is going to happen? Well, we're probably going to talk about each other behind each other's back and try to assassinate each other's character and try to talk, junk about each other and ruin each other's lives that way. And I was like, well, with men, they're going to end up fighting.
They fight.
I mean, some women fight.
It happens.
It happens.
It happens.
But naturally, men fight more.
Yeah, I would say the majority of men on this planet, if the argument got too heated and somebody's starting to disrespect each other, not a societal disrespect, but like I'm legitimately like disrespecting you, that kind of
deal,
stuff, then there's always that underlying threat of violence, and that keeps an authenticity to most conversations between men.
It keeps it.
That's why men value truth on top of that, because they're like, hey, listen, like we're gonna duke it out here and now if you talk too much trash. But then social media makes that all feminine.
Yeah,
because no longer do you have the threat of immediate violence. So it's like now I can say whatever I want, and talk behind your back. So we're all participating in like this feminine mindset of like, hey, we're just gonna character assassinate people around us and make ad hominem attacks, and then drop and post and leave and all this other kind of stuff, and then not have to deal with the outcome of it, and let somebody else do my dirty work for me. But if I have to have
argue and
but if I have a face-to-face conversation with you,
it won't be that way.
And if it does go that way, then a lot of times if guys end up fighting about it. What happens usually after guys fight?
Yeah, they become homies.
Yeah.
It's funny.
Either they kill each other or they're homies.
My best friend Carlos punched me directly in my face. I think I told you about this story.
You told me this one, but go tell it.
Well, yeah, we just got a little drunk. We was playing Twister. It wasn't
like
just me
and him. Two males do.
Best friends, No, we were partying with chicks
alone.
From Tulane.
No big deal.
No, there were females there from Tulane.
Okay.
And we were chilling. I thought we was having a great time. He was going through a lot stunt wise. The stunt industry just being heavy. I can't get work. These people, and I'm doing so much. All that stuff. He was just in his head, and he ended up getting drunk on tequila. And we had these girls from Tulane. We were playing actually like strip twisters. So I was like, This is going to be one of those days. We're going to have a great time. But then I cracked that joke, and that was all I did. I just cracked the joke. And he basically put me in the same box as everybody else that was kind of pissing him off at that time. Yeah. And again, he was drunk. I wasn't mad at all. It happens. But he ended up, long story short, punching me in the face after the game that we had. I was walking down the hallway to the kitchen, and I just feel someone push me from behind. I turn around. I'm like, yo, what the hell just happened? Like, you good? And he was just like, oh, I hate everybody. All that kind of stuff. Everybody thinks I'm weak. And blah. I'm like, I just cracked a joke, bro. If there's a problem, we could talk about it. You don't have to get too crazy. My friend Mike seen, so he came over, what was going on, and I was just like, he keeps putting his hands on me. And he was like, oh, I didn't put my hands on you yet. And then he just straight over him punched me directly in my eye. And again, I knew the circumstances of he talked to me about how he felt, and then maybe my joke did agitate him, but it was weird. The next day after that, he ended up snapping out of it and seeing that he messed up or whatever. But the next day when we spoke about it, it was almost like we met each other's ugly.
Yeah.
I met just how ugly he could be, and I said, it's okay.
Yeah.
I was like, you could have a problem. You could be wrong. You could even punch me in the face. Who is telling me to hate you because of that?
Right.
Or I'm happy you did it to me and not someone else. Mm-hmm. Because they would have took you for something else.
I'd have punched you back.
Yeah, or they would have tried to end your career and, like things of that nature.
I wouldn't end the career, but I'd punch him back.
Well, yeah. I mean, trust me, I wanted to, but then
I like a good scuffle.
Well, also, Carlos was like all of the black belts. Here I am, some acrobat doing cartwheels.
True, okay.
And this dude's going to punch a hole in my chest. Yeah, dude. Woo! But, I understood him. He hit me, and I was just like, dude, I understand you're going through stuff, but maybe you shouldn't drink when you're going through stuff, so just you can protect my face. But it's funny, the idea stuntman, I told you, came up from me offering him, putting on all of my gear and his gear and letting him take his steam out, like blow it up. Just beat me up. I won't feel it, hopefully, that much. And that's it. Let's just continue to be boys. And it's funny, but I come to such stern conversations now, like with my brother. I told you we had blowouts in my house, but they were necessary. Mm-hmm. Those types of fights were necessary. Now you can't stop my brother from being my brother.
Well, it also makes the hierarchy clear.
Mm-hmm.
Like you both understand what each other is capable of, so you respect that,
exactly.
right? And if somebody is more powerful than somebody else, then that hierarchy is obvious, right? That's something that's not present in our world sometimes. We're taught that hierarchy is bad.
Yeah.
But hierarchy is inevitable.
It's inevitable. It's like saying an alpha shouldn't be an alpha.
It's ever. Present. It's present in every single animal in our society. Mm-hmm. And I think it was also Peterson that said that he's famous for saying that we evolved from lobsters over 350 million years ago, right?
It's the same system.
Every single animal still has that serotonin serotonin
That
system
release
based system in their brain
from being
all
up
the way
that
up from
chain.
lobsters. So it's like serotonin is the evidence of hierarchy, because if somebody needs to go look it up, I'm probably going to butcher it here, but the idea is that serotonin, as you experience success,
climb, yeah.
as you experience success, as you experience winning or positivity, your serotonin level in your brain increases, and you experience something called the Pareto effect. And the Pareto principle is essentially like is that success isn't just a bell curve; it's exponential. So instead of it going like this, your success bell curving out, your success will literally just go, as you start to get more successful, it increases exponentially.
It just keeps going.
Because you get that good brain chemicals going through your brain, and you can see that in lobsters as they
Yeah.
win fights.
And it's just
It's
lobsters.
like same thing happens with them.
With people.
It's completely observable.
It's amazing.
And I think that's something that we're missing in society. We're taught, oh no, we can fix hierarchy. It's like, you're never going to fix hierarchy. What you're going to do, and we're going to get into talking about capitalism and Marxism here, but the difference between capitalism and Marxism is like, capitalism essentially makes it to the point where it takes that success of that person and allows those successful individuals, the ones that are making new things and building new stuff and creating new ideas, it takes that success and allows them to be hyper successful, and then they can employ people and try to. I know it's not going to be evenly spread, but that wealth is somewhat spread, and the wealth is spread amongst the entire civilization, and you're still going to have extremely successful individuals. But what Marxism and communism does is it essentially takes 20 people that are in the top of government and it places them there artificially and says, these are the people that now have access to all the wealth. Everyone else is equally poor. Because we don't want anybody else to be jealous of anybody else. But there's still a ruling class. In every single society, it doesn't matter how egalitarian it is, there's still a ruling class. So, like,
and it's gonna happen.
Do you want to have a government that's not the ruling class, and then some corporate people that have a lot of money, or do you want to have the government that has all the money and all the power, and then everybody's equally poor?
Do you remember a time when the leaders of a place were the spiritual teachers?
That would
A long ass time ago.
that
But
was
I'm just saying,
a theocracy. Yeah,
and it's
yeah.
funny, but I mean, not in terms of religion, but in terms of visionary people. Like if you look at tribes and you look at their elders and stuff like that, you know, they were the way they were in terms of spirit. They led, you know, their place. So it's like the main elder of the group, the main spirit leader, the main person of understanding was the one that actually led. And sometimes that person doesn't even want that job. They're just made for it because of their level of understanding. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes the job of power shouldn't go to the people who want power, because you have to
Almost
question.
never.
And exactly, why do you want power? You know, if it's just gonna be squandered, used the wrong way or whatever. But people or tribes and stuff like that, they used to go to their spiritual people, their elders, to actually run, through understanding their, I guess you could say, tribes, their societies and civilizations. And believe it or not, I think, again, that spirit understanding, I think this world needs a lot more of in a lot of different directions, man.
That's where we're kind of in a crappy situation right now, where like government essentially, nobody that should be in government is in government essentially. Like the people that get there don't want to be. I mean, the people that get there that we want there don't want to stay there.
Yeah.
Because it's like it's so just like.
And the people are there for the wrong reason.
Right, and everybody that ends up being successful in government is the ones that have licked the right boots, as they go through it. People that have just towed the party line, the people that play those politics,
That group.
People that are willing to sacrifice their own soul to gain the whole world. Those kind of folks.
I'm glad you said that, because I was thinking it, but I didn't want to say it. But
I mean,
yeah,
another Jesus quote.
No, they're sacrificing their own soul.
Yeah, I mean,
yeah,
what Jesus said, he said, "What
say
good
it
is
again.
it for a man to sacrifice his own soul or his soul to gain the whole world?"
Yeah, when you die, you leave this world.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, to me, what is the point of wanting to stay? When I die, my decision to me is going to be to leave it, and not to be on a loop, a cycle back here. I want to graduate spiritually, you know what I'm saying? I want to get my black belt in terms of understanding and then leave.
What I don't get, people, this is something I've experienced with having kids too. Like people that don't have kids yet may understand it, but a lot of people that don't have kids don't understand this concept of legacy. This concept of the concept of God and ideal actually matters, because everyone just take something that's not religious in structure. It is religious in practice to a degree, but like climate change, right? When people say, well, what kind of world do you want your kids to live in? I'm like, exactly. That's what religious people have been saying for thousands of years. What kind of world do I want my kids to grow up in? Because what ideals they have and what the way they act and the way they manifest reality and the way they treat other people is important. So we're trying to replace that moral structure right now, but it's in lack of better words, it's a total shit show.
It is.
Because people are just acting out what they think is the
Instead
best.
of what is just what I think. You know, if you do what you think, I do what opinionated living all over the place, it's going to lead to chaos. Everybody's divided.
We have an entire civilization of traumatized people making our decisions for us. Like, you know, people that are trying to like constantly group in different things. Like I would say social justice mainly. People that are really, really, really into social justice are traumatized individuals because terrible things have happened to them. Honestly, like, it doesn't matter if you're black, trans, whatever. All these different types of identity groups. The people that are screaming the loudest are people that have an actual experience that really has like caused some darkness to their soul, caused them to really look at the world in a different way, and they look to fix that with structural or societal changes. Well, what we should be offering most people is cognitive behavioral therapy and deeper spiritual understanding. Meaning like, hey, you can cope with this without externalizing it to everyone around you, without trying to change the entire world. Because what we're doing is like the people that are like most active social justice warriors are like 2% of the population or less, right? So you're going to change the entire 98% of the population that society is working for to suit your trauma. I mean, that's the first thing you're taught. Like, I'm going through therapy right now because of the things that happened in my early life that I'm looking to fix because I want to be better, right? So I've already made changes in my life before to make myself functional, right? And I never really externalized it to people. When I started seeing myself starting to externalize my issues and certain different little psychological changes, that's when I sought therapy. And the first thing they teach you, and I'm trained in it because I was, criminology major and all that kind of stuff. But like, first thing they teach you is don't externalize your trauma to other people. It doesn't fix things. Yeah, it just exacerbates your own problems.
And it wastes time.
And it makes everyone else around you like fed up with you and angry with you. God, yeah. So you have to learn to work on your own darkness. Like, not alone, but with a certain few trusted, trained individuals, they can fix that. Yeah, but we have an entire round of therapists now that are telling these people that have these trauma. No, the issue is if everyone would just tell you that what you believe is correct, then your world would be better. Yes, everyone would be better if everything you thought was justified by everyone around you. Yeah. But it's not going to happen. Right. It's the road to conflict.
Yeah, and we literally need somewhere in the beginning where we're in the middle, where we can pair reality with our understanding. Like, this is happening just as well as this is happening. And our group doing is also happening too. The way we stand as a whole society is actually a thing, versus just my own bubble. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. We're all headed in a direction, and I just want my direction to be, I guess you could say, just filled with truth, to be filled with a foundational way of being for no matter what's to come in this place. Because to be honest with you, I think a lot of things are far gone. So how are we really going to stop certain places or certain parties from arguing when that's their job? It's what they're supposed to be doing. So to me, solidify yourself in things that are real and things that are true. Be around your family, whether you like them or not. You know what I'm saying? Learn them. That's all you have, for real. You know what I'm saying?
I had one of these first conversations just over video chat, and it was with a girl who was, we were having some misunderstandings over text or over, social media. And I asked anybody there that was like, hey, does anybody want to sit and have a conversation tonight? We're going to do a video call if anybody wants to talk. This was not a live thing. It was just a private call that everybody could just talk. And everybody in that room laughed me out of the room. Like, you can't, like, don't talk to him. He just pretends he's a moderate and then things like that. Like, he actually wants to understand you, but he's actually trying to turn you and change you. Like, this isn't a cult, guys.
It's ideas.
But when I talked to this girl, her biggest issue near the end was like, the one thing I found out we really didn't agree on was truth. So she was under the postmodernist understanding that truth was what you make it, and truth was your own truth. And it was like, everybody has their own truth. I'm like, do you not see how that leads to chaos?
Oh my God.
If you have your own truth and I have if we don't even agree on the color of this damn table, we're going to have some issues.
Dude, I had the hardest time just trying to get someone to say that something I did was something I did. Sorry. Yeah, I had the hardest time just something as simple as doing this. What just happened? That was moved. Okay, is that true? Or is that off?
Yeah.
Does that break our reality?
Yeah.
Oh, well, you could say that you did that, or you could say it was this, that way, or some would say. I'm like, no, you're doing all of this.
That's manipulation.
Exactly. You're just trying to stay away from the fact that this was moved.
That
like
just
that.
happened. You saw it.
Exactly. But you can turn around and say that it didn't happen, and what is that going to do but cause a break in reality, a shift?
So I'll take it one step further. I'll provide the bridge that I gave to her. This is the way I understand truth. Is that yes, you can have your own individual truth. So let's just say, for example, let's just say you're colorblind for a second. Like you can't see that this is like a red tinged cedar, right? Instead, in your mind, you would say, "Oh, I think that's actually yellow," and then then Hamid would say, "Well, I think it's actually brown," and then I would say it's actually red, and then we would all come to a conclusion based on all of our observations of what color it actually is. Right, somewhere in the middle of all that. So the more information of observations that we have of reality, is then we can actually come to an idea of what truth can we act on.
It'll
because
solidify.
Kind of
something
like the
in-
blind man on the elephant.
Right, because it's not just important what truth is individually. It's important what it is combined externally, and then that we act on it.
Yeah, in
It's
terms of
how can you
history
act?
as well.
Yeah,
What
because
is
it's all
happening.
subjective. We're all going to be acting on a different truth, and it's
Right.
going to be chaos.
And that is exactly chaos.
But if we all can agree on a combined truth and then act on that,
We'll be
then,
chilling.
then we're somewhere we can be.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
I think that's good.
Yeah.
How long have we gone so far?
Oh, wow.
It's 9:46. What time? 2 hours. Let's go a little bit longer. A little bit longer. So let's talk about some stuff. I know we tried for a long time not to get into the police stuff and into the race relations and stuff in this country. You being from New York,
Brooklyn.
what? Yeah, from Brooklyn, born and
In
raised
the hood.
right? It's yeah. So like, you tell us, what's your opinion on what's going on right now with the police shootings and your experience with police growing up, all that kind of stuff?
Everybody's about to hate me, and it's cool. And it's because I think we're all being played.
Mm-hmm.
I think we're being played like little babies. Like, you know, the black and brown communities, to me, we're starved. We've been starved of wanting to feel purpose, wanting to do and be more, you know. To me, that means that we're easily played. Let me ask you guys a question. And again, people might not agree or whatever, but the narrative for the last few years, it's been a while now that the cops have been, let's just say, there's something that keeps popping into the news. Cops kill a black person, cops kill a black person. The statistics, if you look at the statistics, it doesn't say the same thing. It doesn't say that cops are constantly killing black people. Like I said, I'm from Brooklyn. Who killed black people? Oh, my God, I watched a video the other day. This guy had a skateboard black dude in the projects. I asked this girl, and I was talking about this with my brother, too. He asked this girl, yo, girl, like, what's good? He was trying to bag her up or whatever, you know.
Bag her up. Okay.
Yeah, he put her in a bag over
Bag
her
her
shoulder.
up.
Yeah, it was good, girl.
Okay.
Santa Claus, you.
It's a Brooklyn thing.
You know, he was trying to get with her, and she said no. She was just like, you know, like ill or whatever. And he was with his homies, and this dude had a skateboard, a longboard. This dude picked up the longboard and cracked her across her face with it. In the projects, in the hood, all his boys started laughing. And he was like, oh, you didn't disrespect me. Get the F out of here. Don't you think a cop would have been necessary in that situation? He left that girl on the back of her head in the concrete. Not only did he hit her on her face, she fell on the back of her head. Not only did he hit her on the face, he fell on the back of her head.
There you go. Got it.
Damn, you guys both helped me. That's what's
Boom.
up. But,
Teamwork.
you know, so she fell on the back of her head, so she got hit here hard, and then she probably concussed back here. And all his boys started laughing. He started laughing, said, don't disrespect me. She didn't disrespect you. She just said no. You went in. Well, don't you think some sort of authority would have been necessary in that situation?
Who's going to stand up for her?
Thank you. So, in these situations that's happening, it's hard for me not to think that the cop who killed that man, that he knew what he was doing. Because what has been in the news for the last decade? Hands up, don't shoot, I can't breathe. A lot of these things, Black Lives Matter's going ham. This dude put his knee on the back of that man's neck with his hand in his pocket while looking at the camera. You know this is about to hit the waves. You know this is about to start a civil war. It's not just going to be about you killing someone and ending up in jail. You know what it's going to do to the streets, because this is not old anymore.
Mm-hmm.
This has been happening now for a minute. And I think that the chaos that incited, it actually did more harm to the communities than it was supposed to. I seen this poster, a painting, whatever, a mural, where it was Malcolm X, Martin Luther King, and above them both was George Floyd. And that destroyed my heart. It destroyed my heart. And it's simply because they were civil rights men. They were about the Creator. They were about truth. They were about setting things free, making them real. I don't know George Floyd, but I don't think he was doing that.
No.
I would have known him if he was. You know what I'm saying? And so for the news to I remember the news was filming these riots, and this one dude on CNN was on and then out of nowhere, 2 cops walk into frame, and now he's just being arrested for the whole world to see. Like, this isn't happening on camera, being broadcasted. To me, we have been being played for a very long time. Like I said, we haven't had a true president since JFK. So there's a lot of things that are just being contrived. What is wanted to me is division. That's what the devil wants. The big versus sign in the middle of everything. Do you even know that those 2 men supposedly knew each other for 15 years?
17 years.
17 years? Did you even know that George Floyd was a porn star?
No clue. No. Didn't know
I
that.
can show you the Reddit video right now. I was looking up on Reddit about this situation, and there is clips of George Floyd knocking down some lady. I'm not saying that since he was a porn star, he should be murked. But what I am saying is, why isn't the media telling you everything?
You do realize that Candace Owens said this, and people ripped her.
They just throw her to the...
Well,
I know.
They ripped her and said that she's a shill for the right.
Of course, I know, because
stuff.
thinking straight or having your own thoughts is not part of the mob. So.
I mean, she also brought up the point that he had, a large amount of methamphetamine and fentanyl in
Yeah,
his
there was a
system
bunch
that,
of stuff,
that said that he was on it at the time.
And it also said on his death certificate he died supposedly of coronavirus too. That it was in his system.
Right,
There's
also,
just, again, it's suited.
it's in his system. But.
So to me, what happened was, what I seen when I watched that video, yes, it looked gruesome. Yes, I was watching a lot of, it was heartfelt. But what I seen was almost a wet dream of these people who run with that narrative.
Yeah.
I was looking at, these people are about to go in.
Golden opportunity.
Exactly. So I question it. If you look at the footage, there's some weirdnesses in the footage. There's timepieces missing. Everything, always, every time there's a situation like this, it's controversial.
Yeah.
It's never just what it is. So to me, this dude, hand on his pocket, knee on his neck, looking at the camera, he knew what he was doing. And I don't mean he just knew that he hates black people and that's what he was doing, killing a black man. No, he knew what he was doing in terms of starting this whole race thing. To me, coronavirus was failing.
Yeah.
So they needed something else to stoke the chaos of society.
Well, they're looking for societal change.
Not only that, but you got people pent up in their homes. What is the way to get them out and crazy now? Race war.
Yep.
They know what they're doing. They've been doing it constantly over and over again. And I know people are not going to agree with me, whatever. But the thing is, no matter what I think, no matter what anybody thinks, what is happening? These people were running around destroying their own communities. It's funny, a lot of people don't even know what Antifa is. Antifa is another group, in a sense, like Black Lives Matters, that they are stoking violence. They call themselves anti-fascist, but they are acting fascist.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? So it's all hypocrisy. And we're sitting there and we're being pulled into it, not as free thinkers, but as sheep.
Join the group.
Exactly.
Join the group. Join the group.
Join the mob so you can feel like the mob. Good. If you stand against it, of course, you're going to feel bad. What I say is, the moment you say no to the devil, he shines a light on you.
Mm-hmm.
You're going against the current. Of course, you're going to be seen. You know what I'm saying? So, of course, a lot of people aren't going to see it that way. I'll even go deeper. Democrat, Republican. To me, they're working for the same thing.
Yeah.
The left are tanking themselves. They look like they are. They're making it so that this guy is looking better than them. And I don't think Biden makes him look bad. I don't think Biden makes Trump look bad. I think it's the opposite. I think Biden looks terrible. You know what I'm saying? So you really think that this dude can have a debate? They know what they're doing. And if, at the end of the day, if you got mafia people that are running everything, if you got these secret families and everything that's in cahoots and they're doing all this stuff, what is real that's being put in front of you? If they know it's real, that's being done behind you. All I'm saying is think a little bit more. I'm tired of the same narrative, putting people on the streets, having them run crazy, because the people that are telling you to do it, they're the ones putting this in front of you. You know what I'm saying? The news itself, it's just off.
The first thing they teach you in cognitive behavioral therapy is don't catastrophize, right? Don't think everything is a life or death situation when it's not, because then you make every decision like it's the last decision I have to make. And that's what I think the entire news cycle is doing to black people right now. Is there? I literally know tons of people that think this is a life or death situation. I'm dying in the streets, man. I can't even go out and drive without being killed, without being shot. I'm like, do you know anybody that's been shot personally? And they're like, no, but you see all the news. I'm like, well, can you show me the statistics? And they're like, no, but you're racist. And I'm like,
exactly.
I'm like, I'm not telling you that you can't feel the way you're feeling, but I'm telling you you're catastrophizing it, and it's a life or death situation. That's how they're controlling you.
And the crazy thing
they're
is,
making you feel like you're gonna die 24/7.
When I was talking to my brother about that whole skateboard thing, and I asked him, I was like, it's bananas, but people don't want to talk about the music. People don't want to talk about a lot of the things that are trapping people's mindsets in that. The music is a big one. Trap, drugs, females. Look at the way we all think about each other. It's the music. They're following the creeds of the goddamn music. We love music that much. We're water. It vibrates us. You know what I'm saying? So whether we're following the lyrics, it's hitting the back of our heads. Fatherlessness, the music. If this is all geared at you somehow, then what's doing it? Who's doing it?
What do you think is gonna come out when you put all that in?
Exactly.
I mean, people don't understand that. Like, everyone was arguing so bad about like violent video games with the mass shooters and things like that. Oh, that's not a possibility. I'm like, everything's a possibility when it comes to what you put in is what comes out.
Yeah.
I mean, like, the human brain is just an oven. It's just an oven that whatever recipe you put in, something comes out. It really is. My parents were. If my dad's watching this right now, he's gonna tell me like, dude, I told you what goes in comes out. Plain and simple.
Yeah, just
like,
said it mad.
That's
a
why
lot.
like a
Back
lot
in
of
the
like
day, just
a lot
mad
of like
simple.
primitive Christian families whenever I was growing up were real big about like not letting their kids watch television and not let their kids watch violent movies and video games and anything with sex on it. They wouldn't let them watch it because they figured the longer you could stay away from that, then it wouldn't come out early. And to
So
a degree,
then what's going to happen when you run directly face first into it? You're not going to know what to do.
Right.
With
So
yourself.
the idea is to be able to be honest with that shadow, but also not worship it.
Yeah, exactly.
So
The
I feel that's
balance.
what's happening in the black community is that they worship sex, drugs, and women, and the defacement of women, really, like the degrading of
the
women,
physical things
And money.
and
money,
power,
all of it,
sex, money, power. I mean,
and
every
competition
song talks
with
about it.
one another.
Yeah.
And that's what it is. Again, living in Brooklyn and stuff. I've been jumped like 5 times in my life. I've never been jumped by 5 white people. I haven't. Again, I lived in the hood. They're not there.
Yeah.
So when I do, I'm not saying, again, people don't hold their ideas. I'm just saying that it's a lot different than what people are running with. Most people aren't even thinking when they're running with this. They're like, oh, y'all rioting? We out. Some people don't even care about what they think they're on the streets for.
Yeah.
And to me, there's a lot of confusion that's running. It makes me sad, to be honest with you, because a real movement would be beautiful. But a movement that is being controlled by globalists is not beautiful. It's actually not a movement. You're keeping people still again. You know what I'm saying? You're literally anti-doing your movement.
It's almost like a slave army. That's what I look at it like.
A militant.
It's when you look at these riots and you look and you don't see a black face in the crowd, you go, wait a minute. What? Wait a minute.
Black Lives Matters. No black faces in the crowd. I got into a talk with a white girl the other day in Waffle House. She was like, well, I had to go and do my part. And I'm sitting there and I'm like, what's your part? And not only what's your part, but what are you going to do when real black people who aren't about that movement show up and see you as the problem? What are you going to do when they start throwing at you? What do you mean? Exactly. You don't know. When real people show up and they start questioning your prissiness, what is going to happen to you?
Right.
You don't know that yet. This is not something you think.
I thought it was weird. There was I told Cody about this the other day in East Atlanta Village. There were maybe like 20 all white people that looked like they're from Buckhead or something, with Black Lives Matter signs in the middle of East Atlanta where it's mostly black. And it was just super weird. And I was like, it put off a weird vibe. That
It is.
didn't
And
belong.
you want to know what it is? And I'm going to be honest with you. To me, who does Superman fight for? He fight for men. Why does he fight for people like that? Why does he fight for people? And it's because he believes they're weaker than him.
Yeah.
That's what they're doing to black people.
It's racist in its origin.
It's a backward racism.
It is.
And it's not being honest about their own actual thoughts about black people. So they're forcing it out as a projection. I'm going to put you above me.
That's the entire what I call like the neoliberal mindset.
It's
like
a very upside down
They
thing.
have, to me, this seems evident by action, right?
Mhm.
Because like to me, like the way I look at any person of color, I'm just like, you're just a person. You're just another person. What do you have to offer me in terms of a relationship?
What are you doing
And-
that I should respect
Yeah,
you?
well, not just respect, but like, what do you have to offer me in terms of a relationship, of a conversation, material goods, anything in our life that we can like help each other out with? That's great, even
Go
if it's just
further.
friendship.
Yeah,
that's
resources.
That's all that matters to me. How creative are you? All these different types of things that make you you. And skin color, it's dumb to say like I don't see color, because of course we all see color. I just mean that like it just doesn't have that much of a function.
It doesn't cause your decisions.
Now, if you make it all about that,
Yeah,
then it's going to be about that,
I seen
because
this
you got a
video.
chip on your shoulder and I can't help it.
Now,
It's
let me
like,
ask you this question. I seen this one, it was an older white man. He was on a stage and he was talking to a few other people. This dude started talking about shoe shining, and then he got up and shined this black man's shoes on the stage.
oh, Kathy,
Started shining
the
his
Chick-fil-A
shoes.
guy, yeah.
And I'm sitting there and I'm like, how is what you're doing helping that man? It looks terrible. And then the guy getting his shoes shined was like, yeah. In my mind, I would have pulled my feet away. Get away from me. Don't shine my shoes. What
Yeah.
are you trying to say? You're shining my shoes now because we've never had our shoes shined?
I can shine my shoes myself. That's what you're thinking, right?
And,
I
you
can
know,
shine my shoes myself,
yeah, like,
or I'll pay somebody to do it.
You stay over there, dog. I don't need you to feel bad about yourself. You know, one girl hit me up, mad white, was like, I stand with you in solidarity. I'm like, do you? Have you ever been thrown out of a store
Right.
because of what you look like? In fact, you trying to stand with me in solidarity, just understand history. We don't need to be victims anymore. We don't need people to look at us and go, huh. We need to get over that. We need to build. We need to grow. We need foundation. And so I'm telling her, I'm like, what you need to do is just learn more. I stand with you in solidarity. I don't know how to help the problem. It seems like in trying to help, I'm pissing people off. I'm like, because now it seems like it's y'all problem and it's not ours.
It seems like it's not genuine either.
It's not.
Yeah. It's like,
I want to
I
feel
feel
good.
like you're lesser than, and now I have to fix the problem. It's
So
like,
that
no,
I
just
can feel
treat me
good
like
about
your
so
friend.
that I can feel good about me. It's
like
selfish.
It's like, yeah, just be my friend. Like that's the best thing you could ever do, right? Just be
Just
your friend's
understand.
friend.
Just understand me. You
Yeah.
know, and it blows me away that it's like pulling teeth, getting people to just to be simple. Now it's impossible. Like, dude, even down to men and women. You know how many girls I talk to that I have to treat them like a queen just to chill?
Yep.
I'm over that too. No. Just no.
Yeah.
And it's funny, but they respond more to me now because I say no.
Yeah. It's because you're not treating somebody like something special. You're treating like an equal. Yeah.
And this is what we all need to do. Like, honestly, I don't see anything as special. We need to stop that idea. We need to do. We just need to be family.
And we have an entire like ruling white elite liberal class that's telling us that black people are like our babies that we have to take care
That we
of
have to
because they
coddle
can't do it
now.
themselves. And I'm like,
oh my God.
I get it. People are starting from a different situation. Not every black person is starting from that same situation, by the way. There's a lot of well-to-do black people, especially in Atlanta, like very successful black people that are an example of like, hey, if you just treat people like your counterparts, so you treat people just like your friends or like your employees or your colleagues, it's like that's it. That's it. And just try to understand them.
Family.
Just like you try to understand any of your friends.
You know, Cody, I say blood is thicker than water, but choice is thicker than both. There's nothing stopping me from making you both my brothers. Nothing, literally.
Right.
And that's what family does. That's what the idea of family does. It just makes you closer. It makes you care about the person as though they're your family. And how easy is that to do, but to care whether they're hungry? Why do you think all old ladies feed everybody? Because happiness is literally right here to them. Give them a plate of food. They're happy that you're happy.
Those old lady tricks, man.
Oh my God, they work. I'm gonna start making people. You made me food today, and I was so happy about that. I was like, yo,
Yeah, I mean, I needed that too. I felt
it was great.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Dude.
So to me, that's what everybody needs, man. We need it. We need family.
That was kind of my, like I told you before about saying on camera. It's like that was kind of my whole goal in this. It's like, yeah, I'm going to be talking to my friends, and then I'm going to be talking to other people that aren't necessarily my friend group, but I would like to see those people, kind of come around to just the ideas of like, hey, we can have a conversation. We don't have to agree on everything,
Yeah,
but
we
I'm
don't.
always going to come into the idea of like, if you come to my house around dinner time,
I'm gonna cook for you.
I'm gonna cook for you.
Yep.
I'm gonna make you a meal so we can sit and literally break bread together.
I love when martial artists back in the day would challenge each other. They'd have tea together first, and possibly after if everybody was alive.
Mutual
still.
respect.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And even in the height of rage like that, you can show respect. Now, in the height of conversation, we can't even show respect.
Dude, I've had people on the conservative side of the aisle tell me, hey, I'm so happy that you guys are having these conversations, and I'm actually really proud of you guys for doing that.
That's
And then I
exactly-
see people on the supposable loving left of like scoffing and laughing. Oh, you think this is making a difference? Oh, a real difference is governmental change. You have to change the system. And I'm like,
Since when
dude,
has the government ever been?
Dude,
the
I ain't
answer?
changing no systems. I can change this.
Hey, thank you. Exactly. My
Right.
immediate interaction.
And hopefully when people see this, they
they'll
can do the same thing.
They'll do the same.
That's it. That's all I'm trying to do.
And I am with you 100% on that, brother. You too.
Yes, sir.
Awesome.
Well, I think that's a good.
That's a
good
wrapping
endpoint.
Yeah, for sure. And yeah, it's definitely.
We'll definitely have you back too. Like I said, we're gonna have everybody doing multiples. of
I'm
this. So,
down,
we-
bro.
We
Bring
started
me-
with Jefferson, and then we have Paris, and then you. And I think we're gonna be trying Isaac next. Like I said, we might be doing a video chat with him. But since you're gonna be here in town, we might try to have him come in.
And I'm gonna do better with the streaming software, so hopefully we'll be able to stream live from now on. It's my fault it hasn't been working. I know Cody's been posting, but you know.
Well, I'm also not the best advertiser either. I wanted to get a couple in the bag, so when we actually do advertise, we have 3 or 4
Yeah,
for people to
something to
go
put out
to
there, yeah.
comb through, and we can actually put descriptions and stuff in it.
Yeah.
The biggest thing is that I want to have the ability for people to watch this in real time and then actually ask questions and comment in real time. On
In
stuff,
real time,
and
yeah,
have a
yeah,
timestamp
sharing
from where they
everything.
commented, so we can kind of go back and see some stuff we missed. Now, I know the rule of the internet is don't read the comments, but
I'll be doing that.
yeah, so I think when I've gotten to the point where I can kind
I'll
of
be doing that.
I can read the comments in a little bit more of a distance way where I'm not so taking everything personally and stuff like that.
Yeah,
But
yeah, yeah.
but I do want some feedback where people think that, hey, you missed this thing, or I want to talk about this and whatnot, and we can bring it up next time. So
Yeah,
Absolutely.
If you guys have any thoughts on this, or agree, disagree, let us know. Let's chit chat.
And we're open for dialogue.
Yeah.
And open to speak.
And it doesn't even have to be on camera. We don't have to record it if you just want to have a conversation. I think all of us are open to
Absolutely.
that as
I think
well.
that's great as well.
yeah,
Come
video
sit, talk.
chat off
Yeah.
live and not recorded, or in person not recorded, or recorded live or recorded here.
Exactly.
So it'll all work out.
Cool.
Well, once again, I'm Cody Robinson.
And I'm Hamid Thompson here with,
George Quinones.
and this is
Keep It Going.
Keep it going.
Working on
I'm
it.
late.
This is cringe it going. There we go.
Cringe it going.
Bye, guys.
All right,
Great.
later.
Bye-bye.